From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
It is 7 minutes past the hour. Good morning. Thanks for waking up early in the morning. Well. Alvin Bragg, his case versus President Trump. And there never was a case, but if we call it a case, because technically, literally it is, but it shouldn't be, it is falling apart. It's a joke. Now, they finally came out. I don't even know how this was allowed to happen, but he finally came out and said, a trial started. They picked a jury. They started the trial. They had the first witness. And finally, Bragg, and it was very confusing. Even the Democrat media, Bidenistas, they know that this is garbage. This case is preposterous. All right, we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Here's something that is, until these people are dealt with and power is taken away, this is never going to stop. Now you have Arizona. They have charged 18 people, state charges this time, including Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and others. And the media loves to say that a former president is an unindicted co-conspirator. So they're saying that's Trump, which it is. Biden won Arizona by 10,457 votes. He's so lucky to be president. And remember, that was the one where the current governor, what's her name, Katie something or other, she was the Secretary of State. She got to run the election while she was the candidate for the United States Senate. Or for governor, rather. Governor. Just crazy. And now she's governor. And terrible at that. This is over so-called fake electors. Now, I want to explain something to you. I don't have the list in front of me. I should, but I don't. But a couple of them are famous names that you know. Clyburn, I think, is one, and there are others. When Bush won, they talked about having other electors than the ones that were actually elected. That's not new. Democrats have done it many times. They are just so guilty of lawfare, weaponizing. This is not an uncommon practice. But, of course, it's always criminal when it has anything to do with Trump or anyone associated with Trump. This I have to share with you, and we've said this before, that Joe Biden is Ron Burgundy news anchor. He was receiving an endorsement from the North America's Buildings Trades Union. And he's a gaffe machine. But this was a real beaut. He's reading a teleprompter very badly. And then he reads the words 4 more years. He doesn't even say it with any. This is why I'm telling you, he is so, his mental acuity is so affected. There's no energy. There's no, he doesn't accentuate. Like if you were going to say 4 more years and want to get a crowd jazzed up and going, and your goal was to have them chant that after you say it. He said in a monotone, goofy way, you have to listen to it. 4 more years, no energy. And then he said, pause. Because The teleprompter had the word pause. Now, I've read a teleprompter, and some people are good at it. Barack Obama, for example, very good at it. President Trump is very good at it. Ronald Reagan, probably the best of all time. You cannot, with most people, you can tell if they're reading a teleprompter. You could not tell that President Reagan was reading a teleprompter. He didn't have the tennis eyes, if you will, the back and forth, like a tennis court. Just brilliant at it. George W. Bush, okay, not a problem with it, but not great, but pedestrian, good enough. Joe Biden, the worst. It's so awful. And he can't speak clearly anymore. I'll tell you what's interesting. I thought he was bad in 2016, in the run-up 2019, 2020. I thought he was bad then. Go back to Joe Biden speaking then and what we have now. It is, the degrade is unbelievable. Truly, truly unbelievable. So Biden, 4 more years, pause. Now, what I'm saying is I've read a teleprompter. When there are words that you're not supposed to read, I think they're usually in brackets. But it's obvious you don't read that. But he's Ron Burgundy. Blank you, Santiago. Why did you say it? Why did you say it, Ron? Pause. Oh, my gosh. When we come back from the break, I'm going to give you new polling data. Now, do you remember last week when one poll, very Democrat poll of unlikely voters came out and Trump was still winning, but Biden had, the margins were not as great. So the media went orgasmic over Biden. I have a poll for you that I'm going to share. 6 battleground states. Unbelievable movement for Trump. And it's been out for about a day. And your Democrat media isn't orgasmic anymore. They don't seem to like it. So what do they do when they don't like something? They ignore it. Remember, one outlier poll came out, and it said that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. helps Biden, and they just went crazy about it. It didn't matter that there's like 100 polls that show that Trump's lead increases nationally, Trump's lead increases in all the states where Kennedy is on the ballot, and that's just not interesting to them. They don't care. But one poll comes out, a total outlier, and they just champion it, hang their hat on it. It's really amazing. Let me squeeze this in before the break because I might not get another chance today. It's a busy, busy program. Next hour will feature your calls, and I hope you'll do what you always do because you make the hour. 609-407-1450. I was very pleased about this. I'll tell you, I don't blame him for still being upset, but I think he should have handled his comments a little better than he did. Harry Hurley, life coach, would have liked to have sat down with Reggie Bush before he made his first comments about getting his Heisman Trophy back. If you haven't heard the news, and I think there should be more reporting about this, he won the Heisman Trophy in 2005. If my memory serves me correct, I think he got like a truck and a few $1,000s or something, and they just eviscerated him, demolished him, took away the Heisman, and then they even removed it from the they have a big area where they're displayed, where you've probably seen the Heisman reveal, and it's very cool. I mean, you have all these winners and everything each year. They what's the word I'm looking for? They erased him. Well, he's back. He's recognized again. He'll be invited to all the events. His trophy is back on display. He was given his trophy back. USC was given the trophy for their trophy case. He counts as a Heisman Trophy winner, which gives USC the most, I think, of all time because he's back. But he didn't handle, if I get time later, I'll tell you, he didn't handle it right. Nobody likes a sore winner. And I understand. He was furious at this. But he needed Harry Hurley, life coach, and he didn't have my private cell phone number. I could have really helped him say things. There's an artful way to make your point when you don't believe that something should have happened in the first place. But when you are redeemed and when you are, it's all reset and you get the award back and your reinstatement and all of that, because they said all the right things. We are thrilled to welcome Reggie Bush back to the Heisman family in recognition of his collegiate achievements and accomplishments, rather. That's the president of the Heisman Trophy Trust. His name is Michael Comerford. They said all the right things. Reggie Bush said all of the wrong things. It's a shame. That next role of mine is going to be important, that life coach stuff.
People all over the Jersey Shore have found the easiest way to stay connected to South Jersey's talk station. It's the WPG Talk Radio app. Read free, unlimited South Jersey news. Listen to your favorite talk shows. Send us breaking news tips and more. The WPG Talk Radio app is powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. SmokersHavenNJ.com.
Fox News commentary.
Columbia University will offer a remote learning option for the remainder of the semester due to the pro-terror protesters infesting the campus. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Columbia University announced classes will be remote optional for the remainder of the year due to pro-terror activists and their pro-terror tantrums. So decent students are still expected to shell out around $70,000 a year to attend Columbia, where they are unsafe and where they must hide behind a Zoom screen due to the university's inability and unwillingness to rein in the jihadis on campus. Do y'all notice none of this mess is happening in red states? Well, that's not a coincidence. That's good governance. But when you look at these campus mobs, you'll notice that for the most part, they all look the same. It's pretty wild when you realize the COVID sheep, BLM thugs, Rainbow Mafia, climate huggers, and pro-Hamas folks are the same people, which is going to make it really awkward when Pride Month rolls around. Well, it's clear that schools have failed and parents have failed. God save America. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
I'm from Margate.
EHT. Galloway. Mays Landing.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
That's all you have to do. Okay, well, get a load of this. And this is not anything other than a Democrat poll, and it is unlikely voters. So guess what? Biden's in even more trouble than what I'm about to share with you. President Trump has an overall 6-point lead in the battleground states. This is a Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll. President Trump, 49% in the swing states. Joe Biden, 43% in the swing states. And President Trump leads Biden in 6 of the 7 states: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada. Now, in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the margins are narrow. But again, this is not even likely voters. This is unlikely voters. The President Trump has a wider lead in Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. The economy was considered the top voting issue. Only 18% of the respondents said that inflation is getting better. More than half said that it's not. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter because people vote based on their opinion, but it's not getting better. That is factually a true statement. It's not getting better. 100% of the people should say it's not getting better. But, it doesn't work like that. Large number of respondents said that employment is getting worse. Only about 25% said that it's staying the same. And even if it stayed the same, that would not be good. The issue of abortion, which really aided the Democrats in the 2022 mid-election cycle, is definitely going to be an issue. 52% cited abortion as very important in terms of deciding who they will vote for in November. Under 25% also said it's somewhat important. So you add those two numbers, and you're looking at 77% on abortion. And I think there was, on entitlement programs or something, Biden had a slight edge on President Trump. That's it. Every other issue, it went to the president. This poll was conducted in the past week or so, and it was just under 5,000 registered voters in 7 swing states. Margin of error, 1 percentage point. So interesting. You don't hear that being touted very much, do you? That's really good news, because that is, look, Trump's going to win where he won. If you were with me yesterday when I did my little almost like Karl Rove type deal without the grease board, President Trump is going to get automatically the 230-ish, it's either 230 or 232, I think it's 232 electoral votes that he got in 2020. All he needs, I showed 2 states, Pennsylvania and Georgia. If he wins both of them, he wins. That takes him right to 270. Ball game. Ball game over. The Yankees win. I mean, it's really the Democrat who came out the other day showing that Biden has, this is why this is a freak show of a campaign that Biden's been waging. It's scattered mess, hot mess. It's all over the place because they desperately, they're trying to convict Trump. They're like hyper apoplectic trying to get Trump because they realize Biden's path is incredibly narrow. I've got more. A Pew Research opinion poll in a whole nother scope when we come back. Don't go away. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. I have an exciting announcement that I'm going to make a little bit later this morning. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll reward. I'm going to do it next. I'm going to reward the Hurleyest of Hurley risers. I'm not going to wait. I'll mention it later as well. Why shouldn't you be rewarded for being here right now? Why do you have to wait? You don't. You win when we come back.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
It's about 31 minutes past the hour. I'm Harry Hurley with 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Governor Murphy, my open letter, the Atlantic City Board of Education has failed to act regarding Loquetta Small. Somebody better. Atlantic City Celebrity Convention is coming in July. Read my article. There's a lot there. A lot of stars coming. And the Atlantic County Institute of Technology, their crew program.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We are cooling down today. You'll feel that cool breeze this morning, and despite a bright sky and dry weather, high temperatures this afternoon will only reach about 53 degrees. Jacket weather all day. Clear and chilly tonight, low of 35. Tomorrow, sunny and dry. High temperature a little better, 57. And then 60 on Saturday, turning mostly cloudy with a chance of late day showers too. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today. This is an important safety.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Free.
Hurley in the Morning.
They always have great conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
After the next break, I'm going to share with you, I'm really excited about it. And I'll leave it at that, and we will share it coming up in just a little bit. Here is let me write back a friend. I'm in a conversation with a really good guy. Hold on. Give me a second here. I'm updating something that I'm going to tell you about in about 15 minutes. I'm going to let you in on what I've been doing. Beautiful. Pew Research. This is when you know, boy, I'll tell you, the Democrats, they're going to be kicking themselves when this is all over and Joe Biden is thrown out of office. Now, no other Democrat was going to do any better. Trump just confounds all of them. They all believe that, they would have put like Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom. I am so disgusted with these Democrats that they get to pick these horrific. Gavin Newsom is a horrible governor. Why are Democrats allowed to lose their way to the top? Losers like Joe Biden. Think about that. And Trump beats them all. They finally did a survey with Michelle Obama. They just wanted to say she would win with no evidence that was true. And I knew it wasn't true. And that Gavin Newsom would win. No, none of them beat Trump. He beats them worse than he beats Biden. But they're going to have buyer's remorse because Biden is just a horrible candidate. And you don't have to take my word for it. The majority of Biden voters want him replaced. How do you like that? This is the Pew Research poll that was published yesterday. 62% of Biden supporters would like to swap him. It's so interesting. Also, 62% of Biden supporters want to swap out Trump, but that's because they can't beat him. The fact that they won, the story is, in my view, the only story here is that Democrats, Biden voters, want him out. Only 35% of Trump voters would prefer another candidate. Interesting, isn't it? 73% of Biden supporters aged 18 to 49 would like to replace him. Only 38% of Trump's 18 to 49-year-olds, and he has more than Biden. I mean, these are devastating numbers for Joe Biden. But if we're being honest, and that's what we are, that's no surprise. None of that surprises me. He's terrible. You know what he did yesterday? I told you he did the 4 more years pause. And that's P-A-U-S-E, not P-A-W-S. 4 more years pause. Because it was on the teleprompter. I mean, it's beyond embarrassing. But he did that thing again where he usually turns, remember now, there's stage left, stage right. But if you're Joe Biden at the podium, he always turns to his right. Then he takes a couple steps and he freezes. Sometimes he points like, like, am I going that way? And usually he's looking, he sees someone. It happened again. I saw it. He was ready to shake the air again. And then he just does this robot freeze thing, and it's very, very strange. Hey, here's a good move. I'm not even getting into the issue of whether you are pro-life or pro-choice, but this 1864 Arizona abortion ban is not good. It's not good. I'm saying politically. It's disastrous. And lawmakers in Arizona's House of Representatives yesterday voted to repeal the year 1864 ban on abortion. It was a 32 to 28 vote. This was, I'm telling you, this law, President Trump has Arizona in the bag, except for this law and this issue. If he loses Arizona, the Democrats will again conjure up boogeymen, wedge issues, this kind of thing. It's a Civil War era abortion ban. And the Democrats, with the Democrat media's help, are making it a flashpoint. And then they say it's, old white men messing with women's reproductive rights and all of this, women's bodies, and just all this demagoguery. If you don't know about this issue, you've been under a rock. But if you don't know about this issue, this old law was revived by a state Supreme Court ruling just a couple of weeks ago, back on April 9th, I think it was. And unless the legislature intervened, it would take effect within 60 days of April 9th. This is going to be a disaster. So we'll see what happens, because they're saying that even if Democrats in Arizona manage to repeal the 1864 abortion ban, restrictions on the procedure would still be in place. Arizona Republicans in 2022 passed a law that bans abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. This whole issue of abortion, the Democrats, leaking the decision. And again, note, we never find out, so it's Democrats, because if it was a Republican and they wanted to hurt the person, they'd find out who it is. They never found out who it is, which I don't believe. And then like the cocaine in the Biden White House, in an area that you can't even get to, that would be under surveillance if you did get there and had the right to have access. And again, we never find out whose cocaine it is. So that's either Joe Biden's cocaine or Hunter Biden's cocaine. It's somebody's cocaine, because we're never going to find out whose it is. And you know who they protect and who they don't protect. So it's, this stuff is not hard. It's not hard at all. Back in a moment, don't go away. I'm going to share some, I think, really great news on the other side of this break. Don't go away. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. I sense that somebody might even say that there's something more intelligent about this. Just a hunch.
Hurley in the Morning.
It tends to make me feel a little bit more intelligent.
Yeah. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City,
Brigantine,
Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you and welcome back. It's 46, almost 47 minutes past the hour. Hold on one quick moment. Sending someone what I'm about to share with you. Very excited about this. Give me one last second. By the way, as usual, do not try this at home. Boom. Done. All right, here's the good news. Now, we have earlier told you that on the occasion of our annual Hurley in the Morning charity dinner and silent auction at Resorts Casino Hotel on Friday, October 4th, we are honoring Gilda's Club. Last year, we honored Senator Gormley, and we made a $5,000 grant award to the Marine Scholarship Program, and that was a real honor. They have a great event coming up this summer that we're going to attend. So that was really wonderful. When we honored Senator Gormley with our first ever Lifetime Achievement Award at our dinner, I said to the senator that I would like you to pick a charity of your choice. And we are going to, in your name, award a $5,000 grant. And Senator Gormley selected the Marine Scholarship Program, which they do a really great job. So we enjoy doing that. And this year we're going to double it up. I think Margie's probably going to hear this for the first time. The $5,000 grant to Gilda's we previously talked about, and it's going to be fabulous. Let me send this to a friend that just texted me. What we're going to do on top of that, on Friday, October 4th, in the iconic Ocean Ballroom of Resorts Casino Hotel in Atlantic City, not only are we going to present a $5,000 grant to Gilda's Club, and I know they have a new name, Gilda, it's long, but you know, Gilda's Club South Jersey, but it has a different name now. We are going to present a $5,000 grant to the Atlantic County Institute of Technology for their Girls and Boys Crew program. I'll tell you, this school, I mentioned this last Friday. I'm such a huge fan. Dr. Phil Gunther has done a phenomenal job. The state of New Jersey ranks the Atlantic County Institute of Technology as the #1 school in Atlantic County, and it's well earned. Dr. Phil Gunther and his staff have done an incredible job building a high-caliber institute of learning. I'll tell you where they're also shining is in their extra and co-curricular activities. Everything that they do well, which is hard to do. Basketball, other activities, and they have a really great emerging, and I see them as time goes on getting bigger and bigger in girls and boys crew. Now, that's obviously a very expensive sport. One boat, they call them a shell, right? And you have the 8, you have 4, so you have different size boats. One boat can cost more than $35,000. And then you have each oar that has to be put in and all that. So that's like another $900 per oarsman, if you will, on top of that. So it's a very expensive proposition. And I'll tell you an unsung hero, and I just have to look at the numbers because, we've written a lot of grants I mean, I'll tell you, I wish, oh my God, we do the best we can. We do the golf tournament, and that's coming up. I'm working hard on that now. And then we do the dinner. I wish we could even do more. There's so much good need that's out there. Because, for example, I don't know when, but as soon as I can humanly, physically do it, I want to do something for the Brigantine Boathouse. When the two Smalls acted in such a reprehensible fashion and almost destroyed the Stockton University rowing program. Their season was just like their hockey team. Their season was on the brink. The Brigantine Boathouse saved the day. The Brigantine Boathouse, without the Brigantine Boathouse, there could not be an Atlantic County Institute of Technology Boys and Girls Crew program right now, because the Brigantine Boathouse, and I call them, in an article that I wrote a few hours ago, one of the most generous practitioners in the history of the sport. So anybody from the Brigantine Boathouse, I want you to know, and I always keep my word, we're going to write you a grant as soon as I can. But I've already committed a lot. I've committed, obviously, $5,000 to Gilda's, and we're going to make it happen. We have to make it happen because we're about promises made and promises kept. And the $5,000 grant to the Atlantic County Institute of Technology Girls and Boys Crew program, that's 10 G's right there. But we're going to write a grant for the Brigantine Boathouse. They saved Stockton. That's beyond dispute. When Stockton was kicked out for no justifiable reason, that boathouse that Marty Small and LaQuetta Small, two political losers, kicked them out for no reason. They had no schedule of events at that boathouse. It took me a month. I demanded a copy of the schedule of the boathouse. It took me a month to get it, and you wouldn't believe what was in there. There was no reason for Stockton to have been kicked out, but they were. And on no notice, the Brigantine Boathouse came through. And the Brigantine Boathouse is coming through big time. The Atlantic County Institute of Technology, they rent space, they rent equipment. I mean, because they're not in a position, they can't buy all these boats in one swoop. So if you go, I have committed this to memory. I don't want to say something and it not be accurate, but I did commit this to memory. ACIT Crew Boosters.org. If you go there, you can learn about the program. You can link to their sponsorship page if you would like to help. And obviously, we're going to give them a nice little push. But think about it. I mean, we're contributing like 1/7 of one boat. The need is really significant. $5,000 sounds great, and it is great, and it will go a long way. But their need is very significant. But I'm so excited, and they'll be at our dinner, and Gilda's will be at our dinner, and Michael Harrison is our keynote speaker, guest of honor, keynote speaker, the founder and the publisher of Talkers Magazine. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Those of you that have listened to him on this program, you already know this. And I mean this in the greatest way. I don't mean telling tall tales when I say that Michael Harrison is a great storyteller. He's animated. He is smart. He's owned radio stations. He's programmed radio stations. And for a little bit longer than the existence of this program, he has managed the industry's leading publication, Talkers Magazine, talkers.com, if you want to check it out. And one of the highlights of my year is the reveal of the top 100 most important talk radio hosts in America, which we've had the honor of being on the list for exactly a decade now, 10 straight years, and we have moved up 10 straight years. 100, 70, 60, 57, 51, 47, 37, 35, 29, 25. So we've moved up 75 places in 10 years. That's one of the highlights of my year. Another highlight of the year is early June when we go to New York for Talkers New York, the conference, the convention. And we have 3 very key roles in this convention. I don't even think just one of them has been announced so far, but we have 3 different roles that we will be doing at the convention. And all of them are prominent. And when Michael releases it, I will share it with you. I'm not going to tell you in advance of the release. So that's another highlight of the year. The air show is a big highlight of the year. Atlantic High Holy Spirit football game, big highlight of the year. And, of course, actually every day coming in and just signing on with you. So we're blessed, and we know it. Let me share something with you in the closing minute that we have, getting back to hard news. But congratulations to the Atlantic County Institute of Technology. You've caught our attention, and the CREW program has caught our attention, and we're extremely honored to and Dr. Gunther and I have had a conversation about this. We're really honored to be writing the grant for $5,000, and I hope that inspires other people to step up. And this, you're going to make a big difference in the lives of student athletes. They are working really, really hard to become a credible rowing program. They're doing a really good job. The last issue for this hour, and I didn't get to I do want to share with you that Dr. Anthony Fauci will be testifying publicly on June 3rd. I wonder how many times he will say, I can't remember, I don't recall. It's going to be a lot. He has said that hundreds of times under oath. It's amazing how cocksure he is when he is not under oath. But boy, you get that little man under oath, and his mind, it's kind of like Joe Biden. It just becomes like mush. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't recall. I can't say. I mean, this guy is a mumbling mess. But when he's not under oath, wow, he's just... It's like his home with the pillows with his face on it, or the life-size portrait of himself. Hey, get a load of this one. This is crazy time. In Joe Biden's, this is in honor of Kirk Conover. This is Nirvana for Kirk. We're talking economics for 10 seconds. The 2025 Joe Biden budget outlines a capital gains tax rate of 44.6%. Biden, you're getting fired. That's a 100-year high. You're a joke.
Atlantic City, WENJ HD3, Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 7 minutes past the hour on the Hurley in the Morning program. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our only wide open forum of the morning. So I hope that you will honor me with your presence at 609-407-1450, because after all, open forum does not work by me just saying it's open forum. Your participation is not only cordially welcome, but it is required. So I said this right before the end of the hour, but until your calls jump in, it's important to emphasize this. Joe Biden is proposing to increase the top capital gains tax rate to such a high rate that it's the highest in over 100 years. He's got to be fired on November 5th, and he's going to be fired. This is crazy. Moreover, when you throw in the federal and the state rate, it will be more than 50%. You know, how they ever think that you have the right, I think it's an abomination. I've always believed that all taxation should not be more than 1/3 of what you make. You should be able to keep 2/3 of the fruits of your labor. Now, these monsters don't feel that way. For example, California, you'll be facing a 59% rate. New Jersey, Oregon, Minnesota, and New York will have rates from 53.4% to 55.3%. This is confiscation level taxation. This is crazy. I mean, give you an example, and they're horrible, but China, for example, they maintain a capital gains tax rate of 20%. Biden wants 44.6%. All you do is inspire people with money to do something else. What do you need? What do you need to give them? You don't need to do it. You don't need to create the business. You don't need to create what would create this result of the taxable event of a capital gains. You do something else or nothing because you don't have to. This is unbelievable. And remember, it always starts out fairly reasonable, whether it's the tolls. Oh, we're only going to have tolls until we pay for the road. Ha, ha, ha. Very funny. Hey, get Easy Pass and you get a discount. Hey, now you got to have Easy Pass and there is no discount. 1922. Give you a quick history and then we'll open up the phone lines. We got a lot of calls to get to. Capital gains taxes were implemented first time in 1922. So remember now, the country existed for a long time without any capital gains taxes. The rate was 12.5% in 1922. Joe Biden wants it to be 44.6%. To quote the host of the hit television program, The Apprentice, you're fired. And I just did the Cobra, but you couldn't see it. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Harry.
Morning.
So I just wanted to say I was just watching the news, and it was such a beautiful morning to watch our beautiful president in New York City with all the construction workers.
I did see that, and you just see the way he interacts with every single element, every single layer of society. And Joe Biden's trying, he went into some, whatever it was, Wawa or somewhere. He's trying to do it, and it's just failing miserably.
Yeah, he just connects with the regular folk, the hard worker American that's just trying to get by, and like you were discussing about taxes coming out of your paychecks and things like that. It was wonderful to see how he interacts with them and the camaraderie with them. And
yeah, you do realize that now in America, these Democrats, they've got to be fired. They now believe that it's fair that you should work into July, more than half the year, before you can keep the first penny of your hard work.
It's frightening.
It is. It's terrible.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you called. Drive safely. I know you're driving. I can hear the whirl, the swirl and the whirl of the car moving. Have a great day. Call me again. Loved your call. And I agree with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Real Talk Radio with Mayor Vaughn Reel.
Good morning, Mayor Hurley. How are you today?
Very well, Mr. Mayor.
3 quick updates for you, Harry. I know you were out on COVID about 2 weeks ago, and I was hoping to get on the line and just thank you and your listeners for a great 10-year run.
Yeah.
As many of your listeners probably know, Margie and I completed the sale of our last Sport Clips in Summers Point last week. So it was great that your listeners allowed us to support over 80 community sports athletic teams, high schools, and other charities. And again, if it wasn't for your listeners, we would not have been able to do that. But I also want to touch on two other things. You were talking about the Brigantine Boathouse, and I just want to relay a story about really how philanthropic that boathouse is. Some of your listeners know that my oldest son suffers from brittle bones disease. So now he's 20 years old. He lives independently, but he's had 74 fractures that we know of, 13 surgeries with 23 surgical procedures where they literally crack open the bones and insert steel rods. And at the Brigantine Boathouse, they ran a crew program for special needs children. Coach Phillips and his wife every week would bring all these kids that had different handicaps and put them literally in crew boats and allow them to row with the help of a lot of volunteers. It was one of the most amazing programs that I've ever been a part of, or not even a part of, been the recipient of their generosity. So hats off to you for, in the future, making a grant for the Brigantine Boathouse. I also wanted to update your listeners. Last Sunday, there was a huge fundraiser for Defend Brigantine Beach, which is the anti-wind turbine group, anti-wind energy. We had about 150 people there. We had all of our local politicians there, Senator Paula Spina, Mayor Sarah. It was a phenomenal event. So to your listeners, this battle's not over. Please donate. Please volunteer. And you can actually just email my wife at margiereal.com, and she will respond to you. So, Harry, thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners.
Mayor, before you go, let me thank you. The 10 years that we were together, obviously very meaningful to me. You've been great on the program in so many different ways. You and Margie, in terms of the financial contributions that you've made for longer than a decade, but the whole decade of Sport Clips to the Hurley in the Morning charity, I want to thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, Harry. And, it's your listeners are one of a kind. Every time they would come in, they would always mention your name, and it was just really a great partnership. So we appreciate not only what you did for Sport Clips, but all the organization that Sport Clips allowed us to help donate to and fund.
Mayor, are you going to miss it?
I'm going to miss it from the opportunity of being able to donate to communities and to help employ people. But we're on to another chapter of our lives. That was 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to taking the next step.
And you did such a great job. I mean, you brought precision, hair cuttery, products, culture, philanthropy. It was a really great honor to be a small part of your business model.
Harry, I can tell you I'll still be getting my hair cut there.
I do too. I got one last Saturday, actually. But go ahead.
We appreciate your patronage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Harry.
You're welcome. When we come back, more of your phone calls. Please don't go away. You will be next, and we'll get to all of your calls. Plenty of time straight ahead on the Hurley in the Morning program. 609-407-1450, an open phone line.
Hurley in the Morning.
The more we talk about it, the better.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Can you imagine what Iran is thinking now? Can you just imagine what the people in Gaza are thinking now? What Hamas is thinking? Hezbollah is thinking? They think, oh, this is great. Nobody's paid attention. We've been pointing it out more than anybody. Now do you get the importance about over 10 million unvetted Joe Biden illegal immigrants coming from our top geopolitical foes like Iran, Syria, China, tens and tens of thousands, Russia, home of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, Afghanistan, home of Al-Qaeda, ISIS-K, and they're showing up at our southern border? You got to be kidding me.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Breathe.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
It's a source I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. 21 minutes past the hour. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Harry. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
Yes.
I want to read you a quick little back and forth between Barack Hussein Obama and Charlie Gibson of ABC News. This was in 2008, and it's regarding the capital gains tax. Are you ready?
Ready.
Charlie Gibson says to Obama, all right, you have, however, said you would favor an increase in the capital gains tax. As a matter of fact, you said on CNBC, and I quote, I certainly would not go above what existed under Bill Clinton, which was 28%. It's now 15%. That's almost a doubling if you went to 28%. But actually, Bill Clinton in 1997 signed legislation that dropped the capital gains tax to 20%. Obama says, right. And then Gibson says, and George Bush has taken it down to 15%. Obama says, right. Gibson says, and in each instance, when the rate dropped, revenues from the tax increased. The government took in more money. And in the 1980s, when the tax was increased to 28%, the revenues went down. So why raise it at all, especially given the fact that 100 million people in this country own stock and would be affected? And here it is, Harry. Here's the answer from Obama. Well, Charlie, what I've said is that I would look at raising the capital gains tax for purposes of fairness.
There you go. It's the early installment of DEI. It's got to be fair. So in other words, punish success. And somehow by punishing success, that's fairness.
So even though the government would take in less revenue, for Obama, it was about punishing suburbia, which was his code word for white people. Let's be honest, Harry.
Well, here's the deal. This shows, and it's an example, and there are many examples. This is a good one, really good one, where they will take it's why I say they want to burn the house down to rule the ashes. They will take a worse result because their philosophy is more important than actually doing better. Like they would rather implement their punitive philosophies than for the country to do better. It's pretty sick.
Well, you might recall another quote by Barack Hussein Obama where he said, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think I have it pretty much committed to memory. He said, we're going to reward our friends and punish our enemies who do not stand with us on issues that are important to us.
Oh, yeah.
Something to that effect.
Very close, yeah. I remember that.
Okay, so, and you said it correctly. This is about punishing people. It's about people who he believes deserve to have the money, even though they didn't work for it. Because as Ronald Reagan said in his famous speech in 1964, I know you've seen it, the speech, it's called A Time for Choosing. Ronald Reagan said that there are too many people in this country who see a fat man standing next to a thin man, and they think that the fat man got that way by taking advantage of the thin man. Okay? And, you know, this is Barack Hussein Obama's whole thing. He told Joe the plumber, I believe when you spread the wealth around, it benefits everybody. It was all about redistribution of wealth. It was all about taking from people he believes had too much and giving it to people he believes didn't have enough. Now, here's a man, remember when he said, I believe at a certain point you've made enough money. Remember that quote?
Yep.
Yeah, and here's a guy now with 4 houses, 2 of which are on the ocean, the same ocean that he said was going to swallow us up. But yet he had 2 houses on the ocean, right?
Yep.
Here's some more about Obama, Harry. So look at what's happening with these protests. So Barack Obama was instrumental in overthrowing Hosni Mubarak in Egypt. Now, Hosni Mubarak was certainly no angel.
No, but he was somebody that we could work with.
Yes, and it was relatively peaceful in that part of the world for a long time under Hosni Mubarak, okay? So what does Obama do? He was instrumental in getting him overthrown just the way Obama sent money to Israel to try to defeat Benjamin Netanyahu. We all remember that, right?
Right, and now you have Nancy Pelosi and the other crazies. Actually, when have you ever heard American leaders call for regime change during a war? Who does that to their greatest ally in the Middle East? Who does that? These filthy Democrats, that's who.
Paulette Pelosi.
Yeah.
So now after Obama is instrumental in overthrowing Hosni Mubarak, who gets installed? The first Muslim Brotherhood president of Egypt, Mohamed Morsi. Who, let's remember, who was friends with the Morsis, Harry? Hillary Clinton's first, her aide, her closest confidant.
Yeah, Huma Abedin.
Yes, Huma Abedin's parents were like this close with the Morsis. So here we are a few years later. We have the Muslim Brotherhood basically running Egypt. We have Benjamin Netanyahu ostensibly on the ropes with what's going on in Israel, and you have what's happening with these campuses.
Right. And don't forget, you had Valerie Jarrett, and they didn't even tell the American people this. You have Valerie Jarrett, and I believe she was just filled with anti-Americanism. Valerie Jarrett living in the White House.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you have to wonder how many of these people that you see protesting aren't even in those colleges, but are people who've been flooding through our border over the past 3 years, okay? You have a situation where the Muslim Brotherhood, and this isn't new, Harry, for decades, the Muslim Brotherhood was very clear that one of the ways they were going to defeat the United States, or the Great Satan, as it's called, was to get these chapters, these little organizations, these radical Muslim organizations in every college, university across the United States. And it's now like it's like an email blast went out. They all got the text.
Oh, there's no question. The anti-Israel protests are raging right now throughout America. I mean, all over the place. Columbia, NYU, Yale, more overnight. No doubt about it. Andy, it's exactly 30 minutes past the hour. I've got to go. When we come back, you will be next, and you will be right after that. Please don't go away. It is the Hurley in the Morning program.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
30 minutes past the hour. Harry Hurley with 3 stories that you can follow right now on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Governor Murphy, my open letter. The Atlantic City Board of Education has failed to act regarding LaQuetta Small. It is a public embarrassment and a disgrace. Truly, the state has to move. Atlantic City Celebrity Convention is coming in July, and the list is impressive. Check it out. We've written about it. And the Atlantic County Institute of Technology, their crew program, Job.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We flip back to mainly dry weather for a couple days here with good sunshine. Temperatures will be 10 to 20 degrees cooler than yesterday. High today 53 under mostly to partly sunny skies. Clear and chilly tonight, low 35. Tomorrow looks sunny and dry, high 57. Turning mostly cloudy on Saturday with a high of 60. There will be a chance for late day showers on Saturday too. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
If you need... You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
It's a woke society, and I am fed up with it.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
I saw something very encouraging during the break. Check this out, and then right back to your calls. I saw the president of Steamfitters Local 638, the manager, Bob Bartles. He said, and their number is big, they're polling their entire membership between President Trump and Joe Biden. President Trump is leading Joe Biden 3-1. He said, hey, I'm going to get a lot of phone calls after this interview, because obviously at the higher level, they get a lot of pressure. I am still amazed why these Democrat fools keep endorsing someone that's worse for their members and give them millions of dollars for someone that works against. Think about this. How could the auto industry, with what Biden has done to destroy it, how could they endorse Biden? I mean, that would be like Biden if he set your house on fire and you're the fire union. Yeah, he set my house on fire, killed my kids, and he also killed my dog and my cat. But I'm endorsing Joe Biden. Yeah, but you realize he killed your whole family, right? Yeah, we know. I mean, this is how bad these people are. So we're going to keep an eye on that because Trump is trouncing Biden. And wouldn't this be something if down the road we hear that the Steamfitters, Local 638, endorsing Joe Biden for re-election, and we know that 3-1, the members want Trump. You realize it doesn't even matter other than the money, which is not meaningless, but obviously Hillary had more money than Donald Trump, and Joe Biden's going to have more money than President Trump. Biden was bragging the other day, I have $500 million. Who would give a nickel to that incoherent fool that just read 4 more years, pause? If you didn't hear about it, he read the word pause from the teleprompter. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. In regard to wealth distribution, remember what UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher said. The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money.
Correct.
So that's right. So anyway, well, remember the GOP presumptive nominee of November 5th, 1860 picked a rat for a running mate who happened to be a Democrat named Andrew Johnson. But I think if you really want to get the buggy rocking, man, I'll tell you.
Well, remember, he didn't pick him. They fixed the whole system after that. The person with the next amount of electoral votes became the vice president. You're so precise and accurate with what you say. I couldn't let that one. Sometimes I just let things slip by and just, okay, he said it. Let people have their opinion. But Lincoln did not pick Johnson.
Okay. Well, I think that President Trump should pick Bobby Kennedy Jr. That's my feeling about it. But
here's the thing, though. I'm telling you, I like him too in certain respects. His record is terrible. He would be a terrible person to align with. There's a handful of things that people agree with him on that are conservative, but his record is terrible. I like him, don't get me wrong, but that would be a very bad choice.
Well, he's strong against. He wants to play hardball with China, so that's something that's really good.
True.
I think
That's true.
And yes,
and look at his climate agenda is radical to maybe even the left of Biden. So it's not a compatible pick, in my opinion. I like him. Don't get me wrong, but he's not, in my estimation, the right pick.
Well, I'll have to do some more research. But anyway, they're going to pull out every stop to try to keep President Trump from being reelected, but it's not going to work. They're not going to be able to play dirty pool this time around.
Well, it's interesting now that Trump is in this trial and the American people see how this is Biden putting his opponent on criminal trial. Trump's gone back up, and the polls are better than they were when that wasn't going on. Every move they make goes against them.
Well, regarding Barack Hussein Obama, a.k.a. Barry Soetoro, I think he's graduated from deep state to shadow government. The deep state's the glove, and the shadow government's inside the glove. They need each other. The deep state has what they have. The people like Biden and Chucky Schmucky Schumer and Pelosi, they have what they have because of the shadow government. But they're not smart enough to be members of the shadow government. But I think that since 2008, Barack Hussein Obama has graduated to the shadow government. He exercises great control about what happens.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a shadow government. I don't know that, but I do know that Obama definitely is a stealth figure, and his will is felt throughout. Look, Biden is not even the president. Obama is more the president right now than Biden is. Just most people don't know that. And there's a lot of Obama bots within the Biden government. Joe Biden has a lot of people within his own government that are opposed to him.
Well, I'll just quote John Coleman, ex-MI6 British intelligence agent. He says, if you don't believe that there's a shadow government controlling things from behind the scenes in the West, especially in America and Britain, he says, then you are certainly naive.
All right, thank you, Flash. Look, there are unelected people that wield power. Remember, they called, what's-his-face, the prime minister, the chief of staff, Ron Klain. There's no doubt. I mean, it might be semantics. It might just be I don't like the term. There's definitely unelected people that they stay when the elected people go. And there are a lot of unelected people with a tremendous amount of power. Dan, you're on deck. Don't go away on me. Caller, you're on. Go.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
I'm calling to give you my phone. This is Bill in Atlantic City. I'm calling to give you my phone number to give to Paul Andrews.
Now, here's the thing. You gave it to me before. I'm going to put you on hold, and I'll get it from you again. I know I took it down right. He attempted to call you, and he said it was the wrong number. So I'm going to repeat the number to you twice before we hang up. Hold on, and I'll get you, Bill, off the air. When we come back from the final break, Dan will join the program. It's the Hurley in the Morning program on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Mark Levin.
If I had to sum up Joe Biden, I'd say he's a lowlife. He's always been a lowlife. Anything for power. He has no real world experience. He gets elected when he's 29, sworn in when he's 30. He's immediately part of the segregationist, racist wing of the Democrat Party. Now he's part of the Marxist, fascistic wing of the Democrat Party. Not all that far apart if you give it really serious thought. So he's going to run a line.
Mark Levin on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Ocean City, Cape May, Egg Harbor Township, Goshen.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5, South Jersey's talk station.
All right, I've got to bring everybody in on this because this is one of these life's mysteries. Check this one out. If you're a regular listener to the program, you know that I've often referenced that I am a human Rolodex. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times a day I connect people with other people. It's countless. Literally, I think it's like a minimum of 5 to 10 times a day, every day of my life. So here I am, the Doctor of Democracy, Truth in Broadcasting, Mayor of the Morning, minding my own business, and guest listener Bill calls the program a few weeks ago. He wants to connect with guest listener Paul. no problem, Bill. I will take your number down, and I will give it to Paul, which I did. Paul calls back to say the number's wrong. It doesn't work. I said, well, I know, because I at least twice confirmed the number. I know I gave it to you right. I'm 100% positive. Usually I'd say, oh, maybe I messed up. I only heard it, and, it can happen. Somebody tells you the right number and you write the wrong number down. I've done that before. So I left open that maybe I just took it down wrong. So you just heard before the break, Bill called back. Hey, Harry, it's Bill. And I want to give you my number for Paul. I said, oh, good. All right. I gave him the other number. So guess what? The number I gave Paul to reach Bill is the same number that I just texted to him again. Only this time, I called Bill. And Bill picked up the phone. So, Paul, if you're listening, the number I gave you last time, I don't know if your cell phone has certain numbers blocked or you can't call certain numbers, but Bill's number is the number that I gave 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, 3 weeks ago it might have been. And I sent it to you again. And I've proven it works. I said, Bill, I'm not taking this as correct. I'm calling you right back. Hang up. Called it, and there he was. So that should be case closed. We'll see. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. Welcome, Dan.
Good morning, Mayor. I wanted to finish my cabinet I gave you on a previous call.
Yeah.
It would be merge Treasury and Commerce and let Vivek run that whole show. You cut the State Department down from 72,000 employees to about 25,000 and let Byron Donalds run that. And then the Health and Human Services, I would give to Dr. Van Drew. And then the press secretary, I would probably go with a Hall of Famer. I think he's in the Hall of Fame twice. And you know who that would be, right?
Oh, Harry Hurley, press secretary. Boy, I'll tell you, that would be throwing me into. Can you imagine how much the Washington press corps would hate me? Could you imagine?
You would go in there with the circus hat and the whip and all that stuff and get those guys in shape. And you would actually answer questions. There wouldn't be no binder because you would be prepared since 2 a.m. to answer every question.
The funny thing about this is, first of all, if your president asks you to do a job, I don't think you can say no. I'd hate to leave what I'm doing. It would truly be sacrifice. And the money wouldn't be great either. So it would be real sacrifice. But I would do it. And I would do it for 2 reasons. Not because at the end I could get a book advance and become a multimillionaire. And I mean, look at these losers like Jen Psaki, Circleback Psaki. I mean, this woman's a multimillionaire now. And she is a joke, an absolute joke. She was a terrible press secretary. She's a terrible member of, if you want to call it, the media. She's awful. But, once you have that job, you write your own ticket. You get an automatic book advance that's probably high 7 figures, could even be low 8 figures, and away you go. I think it's the kind of job you can only do for a couple of years, though, because it's real. It's real burnout, Dan.
Yeah, but I think after 32 years of doing what you do and the multitasking with all the charities, I think you could handle it like a smooth song. Well,
for 2.5 years, I kept up with President Trump 7 days a week. I know I could do it. And I know, I'm not saying I would be great, but I would be better than Karine Jean-Pierre or Jen Psaki or any of these other examples. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I thought she was terrific. And she's a great governor, and I think she's going to be a future president, maybe a future vice president in the near future. But that would be press secretary. I wouldn't want to be like assistant secretary of HUD or assistant secretary of this or that. But press secretary would be a good one.
Yeah, first of all, you're honest, number one. And what we're getting here is not honesty, whether it be Circle Back or Jean-Pierre. This is
terrible.
These folks, they lie.
I mean, think how they say things like Joe Biden's, we can't keep up with him. Joe Biden, he's the sharpest person in the room. Joe Biden, you wouldn't believe his energy. You just don't see it like we do. Get out of here. It should be you don't see it and we do. He doesn't put on for the American people? This energy that we don't get to see, you see? And I'm going to tell you, if you can't keep up with him, you need to quit because you're a joke if you can't keep up with him.
My favorite was the dramatic speech with the auto workers or construction workers. Then he uses the word pause as he's reading the instructions on the telephone.
Yeah, I think you missed my earlier comments, but for those who didn't hear it, I did. And I opened the show with it actually this morning. It was so preposterous and hilarious. He's Ron Burgundy, anchorman. If it's on the teleprompter, he reads it. And he reads it badly. The other thing is, Dan, when he said 4 more years, he didn't say it with any energy whatsoever. He said, 4 more years, pause. And then he babbled something that was incoherent. I don't know what it was, but he said something else that was just noise. It wasn't coherent. And I don't know what it was, but it was something. And then he did his little move, where he goes to the right and points, and then he freezes. Then he looked like he wanted to shake somebody's hand who wasn't there. He's done that before. It was a hot mess, Dan.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I'm going to close with this. I'm asking for a few quick grades, then I'll leave your line here. I know you're busy. So just give me on their cabinet and special czars, just some grades. Vice President, what's the grade on Kamala?
Oh, my God. If I could give lower than an F, I would give. It's clearly an F.
John Kerry?
Oh, John Kerry is an F as well. He's a clown.
Pete Buttigieg?
D-.
Jennifer Granholm?
Oh, F.
Tony Blinken?
By the way, I gave her an F because she didn't know what a barrel of oil meant. Who's the next one?
Tony Blinken.
He's really bad. I'm going to give him a D- just because.
Lloyd Austin.
F.
Well, guess what? I'm going to rest my case.
I mean, these are just terrible examples that you just gave of people that they don't know what they're doing. Even Lloyd Austin, who has a full career in the military, he's been terrible.
My favorite closing line is from John Kennedy from Louisiana. He said, what we have here is 24 loose cans of beer. And the guy says, what does that mean? He says, you have no case.
Oh, that's great. I like it also when somebody was saying something and he says, this is a real phone call that exists. You could look this up. If you looked up, Googled Kennedy, silly bastard, he goes, who is that silly bastard? I mean, Kennedy was fabulous. His rawness and the things he said, just absolutely fantastic.
Well, maybe in 2028 we'll have a president with some wisdom and some humor.
Well, we're going to have a great 47th president, and then tell me, who the VP is, and then I'll be able to tell you would that be the nominee 4 years from now, or because for example, when President George W. Bush picked Dick Cheney was never going to run for president. Dick Cheney, remember, he led the search for President Bush's VP, and then he picked himself, which is kind of hilarious. He was never going to be president. So I think President Trump will pick someone who will be the favorite 4 years from now.
My pick is Kristi Noem, so I know your pick is Ben Carson.
I like Ben Carson, but he's not my pick. My pick is Tim Scott. Ben Carson, I'd absolutely pick Ben Carson. But I think there's something about this Trump-Scott ticket. He doesn't need him for South Carolina. But I think that Tim Scott would be a great vice presidential candidate.
Interesting.
But I will say, though, I think there's a chance that Trump is picking a female.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's Christie. And the most important cabinet member I have, and that's not really a cabinet spot, is to replace Christopher Wray with Tulsi Gabbard.
There you go. That'd be fabulous. Thank you, Dan.
Take care.
See you, my man. Kristi Noem would be outstanding. She's my leading suspect at the moment because I'm watching her, the national commercials, the changing her position on abortion. None of this. She wants to be the VP. And everything I'm saying is proving that she wants to be the VP. It stands. We need to wait and see if that's who President Trump wants to pick. I think she would be a great teammate, very loyal. She would be a great candidate. You could send her anywhere and not have to worry. Very crackerjack smart. Yeah, I think she would be absolutely fabulous. No question about it. This portion of Hurley in the Morning is brought to us in part by Batteries Plus. And they have stores in Northfield right next to Town Square Media here on Tilton Road, 900 Tilton Road, right next to Capri Pizza, and in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And they're one of our WPG industry aces. So think about this from a battery standpoint. If you need a battery for your car, truck, boat, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, motorcycle, you name it, they've got it all. They're amazing. And they can get you ready for the storm season. If you need LED, emergency lighting, portable generator, surge protectors, they've got it all. Batteries Plus. If your phone is broken, your tablet screen, they can fix it. Cell phone battery needs replacement. Your watch, key fob, batteries, they've got it all. And they do it while you wait. I've been there. I needed a new battery because I couldn't stand after 2 years how, the battery just didn't hold a charge. That just happens after these lithium batteries that you recharge and charge and charge and charge. There comes a point in time where they say it's 100%, but it burns down so quickly. Batteries Plus, they fix it. At 900 Tilton Road in Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop into one of the two locations and enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. I thought we were going to take one more call, but they hung up. You could, if you checked in right now, but it would have to be right now, 609-407-1450, I could get you on. This was sad to see because you're paying anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 a year. A Jewish father of a senior at Columbia University said that his child's degree, his daughter, and his daughter's future are tarnished. Her degree may be worthless. I'm telling you, there is, and they're going to be the last ones to figure it out, these higher institutions of learning. There is a crisis in confidence in them where you have major, major benefactors who will not be contributing anymore. The father only identified himself as Jason, and he shared his disappointment about his daughter's education at Columbia University. And, these protests, they are raging, and they're anti-Semitic, they're hateful. It is just terrible. And these anti-Israel protests are raging throughout America as we speak. This is Biden's America. Just awful. The conduct is just incredible. And this is organized stuff. They have the deliveries of the signs and all this stuff. This isn't like homemade organic. This is your AstroTurf type campaigns, DEI, Democrats, Socialists, Radicals.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 6 minutes past the hour. Smart Law with John Zarek begins. This is John's regular weekly program that is presented and sponsored by the law offices of John Zarek every Thursday morning in the 8 o'clock hour. John is the official and exclusive lead counsel for criminal defense legal matters for the Hurley in the Morning program. The law offices of John Zarek, they focus their efforts on criminal defense law. The goal is to provide you and yours with the very best legal defense. You can reach John and his team at 609-641-2266 on the web at johnzarek.com. Counselor, welcome.
Good to be here, Harry.
Good to see you. You're looking well.
I'm feeling well.
Yeah, you look young.
I'm feeling
you look well.
Right.
Looking good. A lot going on. And by the way, you spent some time in our nation's capital.
I did, a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
triumphant.
Yeah, it worked. It worked.
Government.
I mean, I can't claim exclusive responsibility for saving the world, but you know, I didn't hurt any.
No,
I know that.
You actually educated people at the highest level why it was important. I marvel at how that could even be considered like controversial or anything. I think we did what we were supposed to do there.
Yeah, I unfortunately, our Congressman Jeff Van Drew voted against it. I mean, I've lobbied him as much as I could. He's always respectful, by the way, and unlike
let me tell you,
unlike some other people,
I've heard Congressman Van Drew's defense, and his comment is, before we do that, we have to fix our own border, and they're not fixing our border.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. There shouldn't be conflation of the two because they're not linked.
Here's what I say to the Republican Party. If you don't give funds to Ukraine, and that's a done deal now. Ukraine is getting the $61 billion. And in fact, those weapons are on the way, if not already there. In fact, even more than that, I talk to Mark regularly. He's still over in Ukraine, and he was driving from Kyiv to, say, Lviv, which is, a long haul. That's a main route. He said there was nothing but the whole way trucks, large trucks,
like a convoy,
unmarked trucks, all the way, solid trucks from Lviv to Kyiv and beyond.
So the
stuff
aid is on the
moving.
way.
It's
there.
Yeah, that was, there's stuff there already now. I mean, they knew what was coming.
Does that mean the ammo and the stuff they needed?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's that particular caliber that you talk about that they...
155 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 155 howitzer round is the gold standard. It's what they use best. It's what they shoot best. Ukrainians are very, very accurate. They train well. They learn about 3 times faster than the normal soldier.
Wow.
That's what the news is reporting, and that's really the way it is. They're just technically competent people. As I've said before, in the Soviet era, the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, and it was Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Correct, USSR.
And one of those was Ukraine. In the Western intelligence agencies, Ukraine was known as the brain of the Soviet Union. All the good stuff came from there.
Scientists, everybody.
The scientists, the military experts, the technicians, the renovations, the innovations, all came from Ukraine. So that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with really, really smart people.
Is that a big reason Putin wants... Because he's a glutton, but that's a big reason he wants that back.
Sure. I mean, Ukrainians look at Russian society. I won't say Russians themselves, because Russia's got a lot of talent, just like anybody else. But
is that a text or is that your ringer?
I
love those bells.
That's I'll never make it in the big time, Harry.
No, it's not a problem. Mine chimes. I've got the chime, but you got the bells. I like that. I just don't know if that's your text or is that a call.
Yeah.
Is that your ringer, or is that a text message?
I think it might be a warning bell or something.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
An alarm or something that you set.
Maybe an alarm.
Oh, you might set it for the show or something. Whatever.
But
it's cool.
I
like the bells.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Except in the middle
Sounds
of
like
a show.
To the church of what's happening
now.
now.
In the middle of a show. That's another reason I'm not in the White House. Poor strategic planning.
Nah,
right?
You're good.
Yeah. So the 155 rounds, as I said, the Ukrainians are very smart, and obviously Putin wants anything he can get. You know, he's just that kind of guy. You know, if he can, take Georgia, part of Georgia, he takes Georgia.
Yeah.
If he can be influential and basically occupy Syria, he'll do that, which he has.
It is interesting. W. Bush lost Georgia. Obama lost Crimea. Biden, my God, what he's done is abomination. Trump didn't lose anything.
No, he didn't.
That's not an accident.
No, he doesn't like.
They took from who they could take.
Yeah, he doesn't like to lose.
And he let him know that, those sphere buildings, those colorful spheres, I'm going to blow them out of the sky. And Putin said, you don't really mean that. He goes, well, don't test me. Watch. So Putin didn't mess with Trump.
No, and it wasn't that they thought he was crazy and was going to destroy the world. It's just that they knew he would take action and very aggressive action. Yeah. And, most bullies don't want to start a fight if they know they're going to get punched in the nose.
When Trump was talking to the Taliban and he was telling them, your address, he was telling them their home addresses.
Yeah.
They knew what that meant.
Yeah.
And they didn't mess with Trump, but they do mess with Biden.
Sure.
I'll tell you what my concern all during this has been, John. So, all this stuff has been regrettable with, people that shouldn't have been opposed to funding that were. But I know the appetite of the American people and the attention span. For example, nobody's talking about Afghanistan anymore. We still have Americans in Afghanistan. There's all kinds of problems there that Biden left, and you don't hear a word. I really think Ukraine has to take care of business before it's just not even on the radar anymore, and they'll just be left to whatever they can do.
I believe that this push, everyone knows what's going on now. Like we've been saying for a year and a half, this is a really important fight.
Yeah.
There's no way out of this except winning.
Yeah.
If Putin wins, it's going to be a disaster for the world order.
Exactly.
Not just for Ukraine, but a real disaster for the world order. And he's doing everything he can to win, but he's not able to win. We were talking about the value of Ukraine, and he wants Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine's there's a geological feature called black earth, right? So it's a soil
that grows like nothing else.
Yeah, in other words, you on a normal area of soil, you throw a bushel of seed down, you get 1,000 bushels or something like that. You do it in Ukraine, you get 50,000 bushels.
Yeah, they're supercharged.
Yeah, and it's very, very.
Well, there's a lot of resources. There's elements. There are grain. I mean, there's a lot there.
Black Sea access.
Yeah. Let's take our first break. We'll be right back. John Zarek continues right after this. Smart Law with John Zarek. We're at 15 minutes past the hour. Don't go away.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. We're back. Short break. 3 minutes. Smart Law continues with John Zarek. Counselor, time is yours.
Yeah. So the reason Putin wants Ukraine is it's obvious. It's big. It's I think the biggest country in Europe.
I think so.
Yeah. Biggest country in Europe. Land-wise, it's got a lot of, as you said, minerals. It grows, I think, 50% of the poppy seeds, or sunflower seeds, rather.
Sunflower seeds and a huge amount of grain.
Yeah. Maybe 30.
Aren't they the world's leader in grain?
Yeah, maybe 30% of the world source in grain. I mean, they feed Africa and, Southeast Asia.
Are they back doing that?
Oh, yeah. They're rolling. They're back. The Russians had them blockaded, and there were all kinds of negotiations. The Russians wanted to let them through, but only if they submitted to a half a dozen rules that were unacceptable.
Yeah.
And, let the Russian fleet be there. Don't let the Russian, don't shoot at Russian ships, all that stuff. So they rejected it. And so what the Ukrainians did is just they invented sea drones that were very effective, and also used some missiles that they had. And they destroyed the Russian ships.
They sank them.
Yeah, they sank. I think it's at least a third, maybe 40% of the Black Sea Fleet, to the point where the Black Sea Fleet doesn't come out from Novgorod, which is
because they know they're going to all get sank.
Yeah. So they're sitting tight, and the Ukrainians are just shipping back and forth. The rest of the world, the grain's flowing, money's flowing. They're pretty smart.
Are they good with oil? Like if you need gasoline, no problem?
Yeah, there's no problem there. There's no problem really with anything. I mean, you can get anything you want. Some things are more expensive than others, but, there are, Harry, if you go to Lviv right now or go to Kyiv, you'll see high-rise commercial buildings going up.
Wow, they're doing construction.
Apartment buildings going up.
During the war.
It's a thriving economy.
How devastated is Ukraine, the infrastructure? And I don't just mean like sewer and water and things like that, but just like structures. Did Russia bomb a lot of Ukraine away?
No. What they do is they initially in Mariupol, everyone should watch 20 Days in Mariupol. It's a documentary about Mariupol. Was a beautiful, thriving city, not a town, a city, and on the Sea of Azov, which is a little up the coast from the Black Sea. So it's in the east. It's one of the first places that the Russians ran into when they invaded, and they systematically destroyed that city.
Wow.
Just wantonly destroyed the city.
Do you have a figure of how many Ukrainians have died during the war?
I don't. They don't release those numbers, but nothing. Probably.
Do you think more?
20%? Probably 20% of the Russians.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So many more Russians have died than Ukrainians.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Because, I mean, we were staying with some soldiers at one period, and they would get word that there were 10 Russians in a tree line someplace, and they'd get a squad together, 9 or 10 soldiers, and they'd just go kill all the Russians.
Yeah, then there weren't 10 Russians.
It wasn't like it was an even fight. They were like the Philadelphia Eagles against a high school football team.
Wow.
And they have basically playbooks. They have extensive tactical moves where, the Russians are just running around in circles and get mowed down.
There's an expression, the law.
And then they go do it again.
Right. There's an expression, the law of unintended consequences. I believe what I'm about to say is accurate. You see if you agree or disagree, and we'll have some fun with this. I don't mean it in a funny way, but I think the world believed, and maybe even we believed, that Saddam Hussein had a mighty army. Well, I think to our surprise, they were a joke.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein was in the spider hole. The military, hands up, tail between their legs, quit. Baghdad Bob's on top of the roof saying there is no American presence in Iraq as Apache helicopters are flying by. It was comical. So he was exposed and obviously ultimately destroyed and executed. I think people believed that Russia had a mighty military. They've been exposed during this, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. They really don't have a mighty military. No. The reason they thought that was because nobody understood the level of corruption in Russia. So if you consistently, let's say you allocate $10 billion for a certain project, if you consistently steal half the money, and that I'm talking about politicians, generals, everyone. Recently they had Russian generals arrested for stealing several tank engines.
Jeez.
That they were going to sell someplace.
On eBay.
They locked them up.
Terrible.
It's like a joke, but it's the way they operate. And it's a culture that's been there forever. So
I remember their tanks were getting stuck and everything was breaking down. Flat tires, horrible tires. I mean, it really just exposed them as a joke.
Yeah, if you steal the money, half the money out of a program.
Yeah, they didn't have what people thought they had because they were ripping it off.
No, and the stuff they had was largely junk.
Yeah.
Now, over time, that gets corrected, and a lot of people think, oh, now the Russians are advertising. The propaganda is we're on 40% of our economy is on war footing now.
Right, like
that. We're dedicating 40% of our economy to the war. Well, 40% of what?
Yeah, exactly.
40% of an economy that is the size of Italy's or Spain's.
I do think Biden's strategic errors, and they were on purpose, because they should have known this, benefited Russia in terms of oil. That was a mistake that Biden made. But
it was insane. It was insane.
Totally.
Trump, he knew. Look, he's a very, very sharp businessman, and he's a very cunning businessman. And you don't want to rely on mercy when you're dealing with Donald Trump. He's not big on that. You're a nice guy, I'll give you a break. No, he'll steal your.
He'll hammer you.
Yeah, he'll steal your eye teeth if he's in
China with the tariffs. And,
if he's in a challenging situation. Yeah. So what he did, he was very, very smart. His policy of drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
You drill for oil and gas every place you want. You ship it any place you want. Really suppressed oil and gas prices.
Correct.
Tremendously.
So we were energy independent. We were a net oil exporter, and it was $2 a gallon. It was good times.
Yeah, and Russia it drove the price of oil and gas down so low in Russia that they were broke, and Iran was broke. So it was really a brilliant strategy. And what is Putin going to say to him? Oh, don't drill so much oil.
Right.
Help me raise the money. Yeah. And he's there.
Buy my oil.
Vladimir, what can I do about it? These guys they're drilling too much. But what am I going to do about it? But in the meantime, he was broke. Putin was broke and couldn't start a war. As soon as Biden came in, he had 15 measures that increased the price of oil and gas dramatically, and Putin became rich overnight.
Exactly.
And could afford the fight.
Yeah, it's like what we've been doing. We've been funding Iran, the world's largest sponsor of terrorism. We're funding Russia because we've made them in a position where they can make money from oil that they wouldn't be making. It's terrible. 2 minutes before the bottom of the hour break, how much is Iran and China helping Russia?
They're helping them. That's what they're doing. Iran is sending drones to them. A lot of these drones that are hitting Ukraine are from Iran. Really happy to see Israel bombing Iran and attacking Iran. And
then we told Israel not to. It's every wrong message you could send.
China's dealing with them, not giving the stuff away, but they're trading with them on, electrical components and electronic components and things they need. But they're not the only ones. I mean, there are European countries who are doing the same thing.
John, are you aware of this? And I want our listeners to be aware of this. We put out a report every year, and on that report, and the media is not playing this up because it's despicable. They have our own assessment. We have Israel worse ranked in terms of human rights and all these different measuring points than Iran and Russia and places like that.
Yeah.
We have Israel worse than them.
It's
despicable.
I had the opportunity to, I was in the House chambers in the gallery when the bill was passed. In fact, I was about 10 yards away from the Freedom Caucus, or what's left of it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. Actually, I have a date with Lauren Boebert. I talked to her. We're going to the theater together.
That's nice. Yeah, no. She, it's only a rumor, but
first thing I told,
it's a rumor she gets a little freaky in the theater.
You don't mind, do you? So Lauren Boebert there, Matt Gaetz. I want to tell you, they were 10 yards away from me. When you look at that crew, at this point, because they knew they were getting whacked. This is Saturday.
Yeah.
I was there.
They weren't happy
for the bill passage.
John, do me a favor. Let's stay right on the break. We'll come right back. It's a continuation. ... Not a period. We'll be right back. Smart Law with John Zarek continues. Don't go away.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Just about 31 minutes past the hour with John Zarek. I'm Harry Hurley. 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Governor Murphy, my open letter. The governor reached out to me in receipt and acknowledged receipt of my letter about the Atlantic City Board of Education and their failure to take action against the superintendent, Laquetta Small of Atlantic City. I wrote about the Atlantic City Celebrity Convention that's coming in July and about the Atlantic County Institute of Technology. We're going to give them a $5,000 grant at our charity dinner. Their crew.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We are cooling down today. You'll feel that cool breeze this morning, and despite a bright sky and dry weather, high temperatures this afternoon will only reach about 53 degrees. Jacket weather all day. Clear and chilly tonight, low at 35. Tomorrow, sunny and dry. High temperature a little better, 57. And then 60 on Saturday, turning mostly cloudy with a chance of late day showers too. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today. This is an important safety.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkRadio.com. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Joanne Daly is going to join us in about 30 minutes, and we're going to be talking about real estate. There's a lot to talk about there. In fact, the federal judge just yesterday green-lighted this whole new way that people will buy and sell homes in the country. It's a big deal, the commissions and all of this. We'll be talking about all of it coming up after John's program. John, you were talking about, you were 10 yards away, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Freedom Caucus folks, and they knew they were getting a beat down. They knew they're going to lose.
They were about to get whacked.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, they didn't look good at all. They looked pretty raggedy. They didn't look
happy, right?
They looked pretty raggedy. And the whole crowd wasn't there. You know, like there were members of that caucus that were kind of staying away from the center core there. And so it was kind of sad looking, actually. One thing that struck me, Matt Gaetz, he's very jumpy. He's kind of going around in circles, and he's
hyper.
Yeah, and he looked really unhealthy, I would say. You know, I think it's wearing on them that they're getting shellacking. So what happened was,
well, they don't want to be marginalized.
They are marginalized now. They're the ones that were, as I've been saying for a year and a half, I guess, since there was a strong anti-Ukraine voice, and they were the core of it. As I said, if we don't, I gave my reasons, and I said if the Republicans don't change course on this and tamp down these people, these anti-Ukraine people, including our congressmen, we're going to lose the House, we're going to lose the Senate, we're going to lose the White House. And people would say, "Oh, you're crazy. That's not possible." But as things grew closer to this vote, and more Ukrainians were getting hurt needlessly, and more Americans were paying attention to really what's going on in the world, not just what they hear from Tucker, and maybe Newsmax or something, but really what's happening. That prediction started to come true, and I think it got to the point where they said, "Yeah, we're going to get whacked if this continues." And because of that, a lot more congressmen started to peel away from the hardline anti-Ukraine thing, and they got to the point where the speaker said, "It's the right thing to do. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to, or what the consequences are for me, Mike Johnson." And I was lucky enough to speak at length with his defense advisor, and saw some of those ideas, I think, put into action. So, they really, and then ultimately, Mike Pompeo went to Mar-a-Lago. This was a couple weeks ago. He met with President Trump, and he said, now Pompeo was, as we've said, he was the first in his class at West Point. He was a high-ranking military officer. He was a congressman. He was director of the CIA, and he was Secretary of State. If anybody knows what's going on in the world, and he kept the world safe for 4 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, his activity and his influence on President Trump, them working together, there was no trouble around.
He may be, I was thinking about this the other day, John, and see if you agree or disagree with this. Mike Pompeo may be the most qualified, unelected American alive today.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, he's going to be, I think he'll probably be the vice presidential pick, and with significant responsibility, not like a Kamala Harris pick, where she has,
would be a good idea?
Nothing to do.
If you pick Mike Pompeo, and I still think that he's not quite there because he got a little bit, silly for a little bit. Remember when he was losing all the weight? He was the incredible shrinking man.
Yeah.
Put something back on, he looks healthy again. He got like alien skinny. I think he's got a little rehab still to do, but I could take him as the pick in a second. And I'll tell you what.
Sure.
If he was the vice president, I wouldn't have a Secretary of State. I would have him be the Secretary of State.
Sure.
That would be a great use of the vice president.
Yeah, I think something like that will occur. He's going to have a very powerful and significant
portfolio, they call it.
Very powerful and significant place in the Trump administration if he's elected. Now, I think he will now.
If he's not picked for VP, which I don't think he's going to get picked for VP, it'll be interesting to see. One of us is going to be right here. It's almost like him against the field, so it's more likely I'm going to be right than he's going to get it. But he could easily get it. I think he's on the list, but I don't think he's going to get it. But if he doesn't get it, do you see him as Secretary of State again?
Oh, yeah. He'll be Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. He'll be something major, and he'll have ongoing influence because he's the one that went to Trump, say, a couple weeks ago and said, look.
And even if he didn't have a position, if they worked it out, look, I'm not going to have you officially in this time, he would be a confidant of President Trump.
Yeah. He went to Trump a couple weeks ago at Mar-a-Lago and said, look, losing Ukraine would be a disaster, and explained why and how and why we can't let the Russians win. And Trump came out and made the statements that it's important for us that Ukraine win, essentially.
I believe President Trump was, obviously, he's the head of the party as the presumptive nominee. Him saying the supportive things that he did was a turning point.
Absolutely.
And also, too, let's not leave out, we're not, but I'm going to make sure we don't. President Trump also met with Speaker Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
And then they came out and had a joint press conference.
Sure.
I mean, we're getting more leadership from the challengers than from the people who have the jobs that don't tell us anything as they mismanage all this stuff. And the two of them came out and said, we are in agreement with each other.
Sure.
So now the decision that was made, Trump is in agreement with that. Even if nobody's heard him actually utter the words, they said in the press conference they agree with each other.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. It's so actually what I've been advocating for a year and a half and in months in D.C. working with congressmen and staff as much as I can to help bring this about now is the state of reality. So it's
just as an American, because I know you're a proud American.
Sure.
Was it cool to be in the gallery and watching, they call it democracy, but we're a representative republic. As you know, we're not a pure democracy. But was it a good experience? I mean, you've been there before, but I would imagine that would be a prideful, good experience to witness a historic vote like that go down.
Of course, it was great. And because we knew we were going to win, we knew what the deal was. It was a little more fun than being in the Senate chamber in the gallery when the $1.2 trillion, $1.2 trillion government funding bill passed, which also included the $300 million in artillery shells and HIMARS ammunition that we also had worked very hard to get.
John, is that vote that you witnessed, is that truly as material as we think it should be? Or is there some okey doke where they say, look, we did a lot of this already and this is some sort of like paper transaction? Is this real new aid?
I have an email that it's real new aid from Speaker Mike Johnson's
I accept that. I accept that.
So
that is important.
I do correspond back and forth with one of his defense advisors. So
final break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. It's 44 minutes past the hour. Smart Law with John Zarek continues. We'll be back in just 3 minutes.
Hurley in the morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person that can make sense of what's happening in Atlantic City.
On WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
Not only the news, but perspective too.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back. It's 47 minutes past the hour. John Zarek continues with Smart Law with John Zarek. Joanne Daly about 15 minutes or so away in a all about real estate discussion with our official real estate expert, Joanne Daly of RE/MAX Platinum Properties of Ventnor. A lot to talk about, including this federal judge's decision relative to the commissions that will be charged when you are buying your next home. John, time is yours.
Yes, well, we were talking about Congress, what's going on, what it was like to be there. Very exciting to be there, and also exciting to be a part of getting us there. To who can say to what extent, like how important any individual's action is. But I know one thing: it didn't hurt the cause any. And I also learned another thing in talking to a lot of congressmen and a lot of congressional staff. They talk to a lot of people about Ukraine, many people in very different settings and in different with different backgrounds. But one thing they don't do, and I learned this, they don't talk to people that have actually been on the ground, doing the stuff that Mark and I are doing, to actually what's it like on the ground with a group of soldiers.
I was surprised to learn that because we all, when we do our job, when you do your job, I mean, that would seem like gold. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to find out what's really going on.
Yeah, well, they think they're finding what's going on, but they talk to, they're talking to high-ranking military people, they're talking to ambassadors, they're talking to diplomats, they're talking
people that may have an agenda.
Yeah, and people that, the people they're talking to.
And they're not on the ground.
No, they're not on the ground. They're not sleeping in a bunkered
they're
farm
doing
building.
their diplomat talk.
Yeah, they're not sleeping in a bunkered farm building, listening to artillery going off. Yeah, it's a little different. So
with your pretty dog that you were with.
Yeah, that was.
She's pretty.
We were talking about a Cane Corso, or Cane Corso. Some people say a big guard dog that when I was in the East would not leave me. When Mark and my friends went off on another trip. That it was that dog and me in a particular place, and
you felt pretty safe, didn't you?
Yeah, I said. I mean, she must be, I guess, 125 pounds, 130 pounds. I don't know, big, but if I sat down, she'd post right in front of me and look the whole time. If I went inside, she came with me and sat wherever I was. It was pretty cool.
Neat.
Maybe when the war's over, I'll get one of her pups. She's young and still breeding. So
that is neat.
Yeah, it was good. But the interesting thing is nothing's going to happen if you sit in your living room and take it easy. But if I really went to D.C. out of frustration. I talked to Jeff a lot. I talked to other officials a lot. But being down there is a different story. And I said, I can't stand this. My friend's getting killed simply for lack of 155 rounds primarily. That's the lack of that is the primary killer. Instead of dealing with Russians 3 miles out, a mile out, 5 miles out, with deadly accuracy, they have to wait. If they don't have the 155 rounds, they have to wait for the Russians to get on top of them. And the whole time, they're getting hit with masses of 155 artillery from the Russians.
How do you think people square that people died, allies, people died who shouldn't have died, and that we didn't do the very basic of helping an ally? For those who don't remember, with Ukraine, they were a nuclear power. They agreed to give that up. What a concession. Yeah. I think it's beyond really comprehension. In a way, I wouldn't have done it, because then you're relying on someone's word. Like the United States said, we will always defend you.
Yeah. Based on the reactions I got from congressmen, congressional staff, from people in general in D.C., people don't have a grip on that. It's not like it's
the first thing I think of, people dying that shouldn't die.
Yeah, because we talk.
Yeah.
But the first thing I would say, I'd say, Congressman, my brother and I volunteer in Ukraine, and the reason I'm here is because our friends are getting killed for lack of 155 ammunition, and they kind of look like they don't have all the pieces of the puzzle put together. And I'd say, it's very simple. Without that ammunition, with the ammunition, they can deal with the Russians effectively a mile away, 3 miles away, 5 miles away. They're very accurate, and it keeps the Russians off them. If they don't have that ammunition, then they have to wait till the Russians are basically in their face. And instead of one person per unit getting killed, there are 4 people per unit getting killed. It's very simple. So my initial proposal, which actually was adopted, now I don't know whether it was adopted specifically because I said it, but I didn't know of anyone else advocating that. My initial proposal was, while this is being worked out and months are going by, introduce a bill for 155 rounds and maybe some other ammunition that will save, in my opinion, thousands of lives, and in a very short time after proposing that, they actually did introduce the bill. Now, no one wrote to me and said, look, one person did say, in fact, a well-placed person said, "I'm really glad you came and gave this information today, and I'm going to discuss this with the speaker today, and I think we can do something." So now I don't know whether that's been told to just me or 20 other people, or how the whole thing went down, or whether that was in the plan before that conversation. But I know that when I've explained that to a number of people were writing down information and paying really close attention, and you could tell that people had not thought of it in that kind of detail.
Yeah, should have.
Just in general, they need stuff and they don't have stuff, so the Russians might be able to take advantage of that. But specifically how they take advantage of it by, killing a lot of Ukrainians, because the Russians, in the meantime, have lots of 155 shells supplied by North Korea, supplied by other partners, and they're shooting during the tight period, they were shooting 10 shells to 1 for the Ukrainians. So
let me word a question this way, and if it's not perfect, just massage it.
Yeah.
How much ground did Ukraine lose in the war because of this way station period of not having enough ammunition and other things?
They lost some ground, but not decisive amount of ground. What they would do, again, they're very, very smart. If they have an opportunity to really wipe out lots and lots of Russians by simply falling back a little, 100 yards or so, or 50 yards or so, or 200 yards or so, and then, kill lots of Russians while they're advancing through that area, or they have a chance, like in Avdiivka, as a city that Russia took, but they paid for that by, that was a slaughter. It was sort of like Bakhmut, where they ultimately were able to secure that city, but they paid for it by really decimating their army in doing so. So that's what's been going on across the line. There was no breakthrough of Russian forces. There was no stampede or retreat. It was a fight, but a fight that really never had to take place if Ukraine had the artillery and HIMARS ammunition.
It is 3 minutes before the top of the hour with John Zarek, Smart Law with John Zarek. What will it take for there to be a turn where Ukraine can be to the point of winning? What has to happen?
More ATACMS, which are long range. It's Army tactical missiles, which are longer range, can reach Crimea. More ATACMS, more vehicles, Bradley fighting vehicles. They use them very effectively. More F-16s, and a steady flow of, as I said, 155 rounds, HIMARS ammunition, things that are really, really effective. And by the way, the big stuff is being delivered by the United States and others. England just had a big shipment. Germany's giving a lot of stuff. They're number 2. But the, I guess, nuts and bolt daily stuff is being supplied by people like us, like groups, friends of soldiers, who are getting everything they need and getting it to the front. The little stuff is being supplied by basically civilians. And so that's, but it's working, because everyone's dedicated to the cause.
Is it humane, Ukrainian? Is it humaneukrainian.org? What's your website?
Ukraine Humanitarian.org.
I said humane.
Ukraine Humanitarian.org. Yeah. And, we can use donations. It 100% hits the ground. It's not like, we have this big structure that
nobody's getting paid salaries.
That gets money. No, so Mark's still there. We are able to do that. I'll get over when I'm allowed. Mark says, "Stay there. Give me money."
It reminds me, I was watching the movie The Social Network, and somebody was responsible for, raising the money because they need it. They need the support.
Yeah, it's the whole world's on board now. Marjorie Taylor Greene's not happy, unfortunately. I feel kind of sorry for her because she really made a spectacle of herself during that vote, and made a motion to vacate the vote and got slaughtered. 350 to 50 or something like that.
Wow. John, thanks for a great visit. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Smart
Thanks,
Law.
Harry.
You're welcome, sir. Smart Law with John Zarek, presented by the law offices of John Zarek. Presented and sponsored by the law offices of John Zarek every Thursday morning in the 8 o'clock hour.
WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
It is 6 minutes past the hour. John Zarek, I can't say has left the building because I'm still staring at John. John Zarek is still in studio. Joanne Daly is here. Joanne, on this particular Thursday of every month, both presents and sponsors a very important, very listenable discussion about real estate. And in the news just today, big news, is that a federal judge has given the green light to the National Association of Realtors in their settlement, which is what they're saying will pave the way for a complete overhaul of the way that people buy and sell their homes in the United States. I had a little bit of a split decision with Jim Alamut yesterday because I don't understand why this particular vocation of being, and Joe, if you don't mind, I'm going to just wax poetically for a second, why this vocation is being picked out, that somehow you don't deserve to be paid for what you do. Now, look, attorneys, and not all, but many, will do some pro bono work. I'm a big fan of that, give back. And maybe there's a case that's very, very important and you can help someone who otherwise would not be able to afford it. And I'm a fan of that. But you couldn't say that an attorney can't be paid. Thanks, John. Good to see you, pal. He'll be listening, he said. But here it's like you're supposed to what? Spend thousands of dollars on marketing, spend hundreds of dollars, if not 4 digits, on quality photographers to maybe take 50 photos of the property that's being sold, other things that cost, not to mention your time, maybe show someone, who knows, 3 to 30 properties, whatever, but you should be paid zero for that. Hey, Joe, I never understood this argument from the beginning. What do I have right or what do I have wrong here?
Well, good morning and happy spring.
Yeah.
And
hey, Joe, I know you're like me. We're allergic to the exact same stuff. We can both testify spring has sprung.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has sprung in every form of allergy kind of situation, symptom, you name it.
Yeah.
But, I say, it's good. You got to take the good with the bad. So here we are.
Yeah, that's right. And here's the good news. When you were out at the Linwood Country Club on June 20th on the grand occasion of the 17th annual Hurley in the Morning Golf Open, the allergies are gone by then.
Right. Luckily.
Yes.
Luckily. I mean, that's a nice wide open course, too. So we're looking forward to that again. But going back to the business at hand with this sort of overhaul, if you will, it's serious, I want to say miscommunication and over-regulation that is, in my estimate, from how I've perceived what happened, what caused this, and the repercussions of it, the changes, is that it's really going to sort of hurt the consumer.
Yeah, I believe that.
They want to hurt us as the agents with this convoluted buyer's agent representative, where years ago, seller's agents worked for the seller. The seller wanted to sell his house. The seller did it. When the buyer went to that agent already is representing by contract and his fiduciary duties to represent the seller. And that's sort of what's going to happen again with the buyer. Either is going to have to pay for a buyer's agent, or they're going to have to go directly to the selling agent, not having any representation.
And not to mention all the expenses by the good practitioners that have to be borne during it because of what I mentioned. I know what you do. I followed your career for, its whole length and breadth. You do marketing, right, you do advertising, you do, all these different things.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, all those initials behind my name is a certified residential specialist and an accredited buyer's representative.
Yeah, let me do this for a quick second, because this is not just Joe Daly. This is Joanne Daly, CRS, ABR, RP, RSPS, ACP, broker, manager, realtor. Yeah, they're not just acronyms, initials. These are credentials.
Right. And my credentials are for a buyer as well as a seller, that I can represent them. And I understand the process where you have, and a lot of first-time home buyers are first-time home buyers, even if they bought a home 25, 30 years ago. That is a whole different market and regulations than today. So even though people may have had experience and they've bought their home and blah, blah, blah years ago, it's a different world today. Just even DocuSign. What I have to maintain a brick and mortar building, with insurances and utilities to provide a service for buyers and sellers. It goes beyond advertising. Yeah. It's overhead.
And even though we're in a market where that isn't even necessary anymore, you could do a home office, you could meet, other places, but that's a requirement.
Right, it is. And so it's above and beyond like advertising and marketing. It's brick and mortar and insurances and payroll and cleaning fees. I mean, it's crazy.
I just never understood why this was such a bone of contention. Whether and I don't know, you know this better than I. If full commission was usually 5 or 6%, and then you have the agent that's representing the seller, an agent representing the buyer, and I guess sometimes they split it or whatever. But why is that deemed like disproportionate? I don't hear anybody looking to reform the mortgage fees and what's that thing called that if you own a certain percentage of your house, you were able to cancel it. They made you have that. Look at all these things that are part of the deal that don't seem to be any problem whatsoever, Joanne.
Right. It's true, and it's a funny situation where commissions have and always will have been negotiable. Now, when things are practiced for years and years and years, like before my time, it's been 5-6% commission and 10% on commercial properties for years. And I always thought it was kind of funny because there's never been a raise in that. That's just been sort of a, quote, standard. And they wanted to do away with the, quote, standard, that it should be more
more negotiated?
More negotiated, whatever. And it's funny, more flexible. And it's been that way. I mean, you can see, like, and certain companies, I would say would be hardcore about, no, we don't negotiate our commissions. This is what it is. RE/MAX is not one of those companies. We've always been doing negotiating on commissions. And it fluctuates between, the particular situation of a seller or a buyer of a property price point. There's ways to kind of make it negotiable so it's a good deal for everybody.
Yeah, I'll tell you, let me say as a layperson something that comes to my mind and see if you agree or disagree. And if you disagree, I'm persuadable and moved because you're my expert, and I'm not at all an expert in this space. But I can speak about it a little bit because I've been rubbing elbows with you for enough years. This antitrust settlement, I think it's $418 million, and it was approved by the federal judge earlier this week, I think yesterday. There's a final approval hearing that's set for November 26th, so it's not done yet. It's done in theory, but it still has another step, and who knows, what happens after that. So it's a little bit down the path still, but some people tried to get ahead of this, and they started doing like 1%. I'm not criticizing anybody. I know people, one person for a lifetime that came out fast with that kind of thing. For me as a consumer, I'll give an example of when I needed a new roof. I didn't go find some beat up truck with no insurance and somebody was going to slap some second roof on top of the first roof. I went to East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, knowing I was going to pay more, but I knew that the job would be done right and that it would be the last roof I would ever have to buy in my lifetime. So I decided the cheapest wasn't least expensive. And I'm that way on almost everything in my life. I don't buy the cheapest. So I would never want to see somebody just automatically say, hey, I'm 1% Sally, I'm 1% Joey. To me, you're paying a professional to do their absolute best on your behalf on the single largest expenditure that you will ever make in your lifetime. That's my theory about this. What are your thoughts about my comments?
Well, I wholly agree with that, and I'll put it in this terms: is okay. You have Dr. A and Dr. B, and Dr. A is going to do your knee surgery for $15,000. You're going to go to Dr. B surgery. He's going to do your surgery for $2,000. Who are you going to?
I'm going to Dr. A because I'm assuming right? I'm getting the difference between maybe Dr. Ben Carson doing the brain surgery, versus Dr. Zhivago.
Right, and somebody who is going to make up, I have to do, 10 surgeries this week to make up the money I would make in one surgery because I have insurances to pay. I have bills to pay, licensing. Like my license bills are crazy, to be licensed. So I equate it to that in a sense where, you get what you pay for it. Yeah. But the person that's going to hurt is the buyer, where if they, we're showing some properties and the seller says, no, I'm not paying, for a buyer's commission, a buyer's agent commission, you're forcing that buyer to either go to that agent, cut out the buyer's agent, not have representation, and still not get full service because the seller's working for, seller's agent's working for the seller, and there's nobody looking out for that buyer. And they're going to be forced because they think, they can't afford, you get first-time home buyers that, I think maybe somehow it's going to get rolled into closing costs, which then can be sort of negotiated somewhat between mortgage companies and title companies and whatnot, that if a buyer has to pay 3% commission, which, what they do that in New York. So the buyers, it's just not been practiced here where tenants and buyers pay agents. That's just not the norm here. And now that's got to flip. I said, I wish they're going to come out. Well, buyers are going to have to start paying for their own representation.
Yeah, this all to me, we have to go to the break and we'll come back. This all looked to me, I had a conversation with Kristen recently about it, that somebody came up with a solution for a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly how I take this. It's a shame. We're going to be right back. It's 19 minutes past the hour. Joe, I have a question for you. We'll leave it as a cliffhanger for when we come back. It does not have to do with real estate, but I know that you are in a position, a very unique position, to respond to it. I'll leave it as a little bit of intrigue for when we come back. It is the Hurley in the Morning program presenting Joanne Daly of RE/MAX Platinum Properties, a Ventnor for all of your real estate needs. Don't do as I say, do as I already do. Joanne is the official and exclusive real estate professional expert for the Hurley in the Morning program and personally for the Hurley family. And Joanne is with us typically on the fourth Thursday of every month during the 9 o'clock hour. Joanne's office and the Joanne Daly team of RE/MAX Platinum Properties of Ventnor are located at 5321 Atlantic Avenue. Remember, Joanne was just telling you about the bricks and sticks, the bricks and mortar. That's the office, the physical office of the Joanne Daly team. It's beautiful, by the way. Very, very beautifully maintained. And I love Ventnor. 609-822-3300 is the main number. I have permission to give Joanne's private number, 609-513-8969. That's the hotline, 609-513-8969. And we'll be right back with my cliffhanger.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Brigantine.
Mays Landing.
EHT. Ocean City.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. South Jersey's talk station.
To the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
And we're going to do that right now. All right, Joanne, did I talk to you during the break?
No.
I know, and I usually do. I left this a total mystery cliffhanger at two levels. Number one, I know you know exactly what to say about the question I'm about to ask, and I just think it will be very interesting for our listeners who know about Dr. Ben Carson, who know that he was the greatest pediatric neurosurgeon in the history of the world. They know that for 4 years, he was the Secretary of Commerce for President Trump. But most of us do not know Dr. Ben Carson, and he's in the discussion. He's on a very short list. I think, honestly, he's in the top three. I think that the next vice president under President Trump is either going to be Kristi Noem, the governor of South Carolina, Senator Tim Scott of a state that you know very well, South Carolina, or Dr. Ben Carson. I really believe that I can narrow it down. Some are saying it's like a list of 16. I think Dr. Ben Carson is in the top three. You know Dr. Ben Carson. I'm not going to tell our audience why you know him. That's up to you if you want to share anything. We didn't script this one iota with Joanne. But tell us about the Dr. Ben Carson that you know.
Oh, my goodness. I get goosebumps when I think of that man. I had an occasion to meet him many, many years ago and worked with Dr. Carson over many years with certain situations that were, very delicate, very crazy. But what an outstanding individual. I can't say enough of, how the inner strength of that man is compelling. His story, and I don't know if anybody's gotten a chance to read any of his books, but they're phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal. And he's built on, and it's sort of, what we go through every day of, everybody has different situations that come and go, and it's how you get through them and how you persevere to grow and conquer like your situations. And he's done all that and more and saved lives and improved. I can't even tell you what an impact that individual has made in, I'll say, the medical world and the world.
Joanne, he did a few things that are absolutely just trailblazing. I believe he's the first ever to take an entire half hemisphere of a brain and remove it and give that person incredible quality of life with the half that remain. That, as you know, God is great. The human body is amazing. And the half of the brain that was left did amazing things. I think you know the case I'm speaking about. It's documented unbelievably. Also, I believe he's the first that ever successfully, I'll use the term disconnect, conjoined twins that were conjoined by the brain. I mean, his level of skill set is off the charts.
It is. And it's amazing because if you read his story, his background, how he got, I remember one of the stories, and it sort of touches my heart because I always remind people of this in a sense that, reading, gaining knowledge, we have this gift of a brain that God gave us that we need to fill with the good stuff that's out there. There's so much bad stuff. Like, why even go there? You can't even get enough of the good stuff into your brain. And I remember a story that he told in one of his books where he was younger and his mother encouraged him to read. And she made him do book reports, read books and do book reports. And the irony is that his mother could not read or read well. And that didn't deter her from teaching her son to gain the knowledge.
Yes.
And at one point in, I don't know what grade he was in, 3rd or 5th grade or something, and, the teacher held up a rock and said, "Who can tell me what this is?" And he knew what it was from having read something, that it was, and the funny thing is, it was obsidian. And he knew it was obsidian. And from that moment on, he realized he was the only one that knew that he could answer that question, and it came from reading. And I think he embarked from that point on into a never-ending journey of learning as much as you can learn, because it's out there.
Yeah.
There's no reason, And the irony is, he has a story but my kids and I walked the beach all the time when they were younger, and we have obsidian in our garden from the beach. It's like all in our garden. We have obsidian,
wow,
which is pretty fun. Which is kind of full circle.
Like no coincidences.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
We never talk politics on your show, but generally speaking, if he became the vice presidential running mate, which I think there's a very reasonable chance it could be him. He's really close, I think. It might be Kristi Noem if Trump decides that he's picking a female and a qualified female, but it could. He's right there. What kind of vice president do you believe Dr. Ben Carson could or would be?
I think he would be phenomenal. I mean, and I think probably some of his drawback for, the stage is that he's very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
Because he does not need to, it's the quality of the words, not the volume,
Yes.
I think that's his
and the substance of the man and not the bluster.
Right, exactly. So intelligent-wise, common sense, everything prevails. Like, he would be awesome. He really would be. That man can do anything.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
He's so well educated in the arena, and he doesn't play, like, I want to say, the political cards between, like, racism and party favors. He's logic and straight on facts and truth and honesty,
Yeah.
He doesn't go into the dish,
Yeah, what a great narrative. Let's get the halftime break in. We'll be right back. I just thought that was interesting because here is someone that everybody knows of, but few know. And I had inside knowledge that I know that Joanne knows Dr. Ben Carson incredibly well. And I just thought it was just such a great opportunity to gain insight from someone that could tell you actually about the person. Because you usually only hear what the body politic allows and what the media allows, and who they like and who they want to hurt and who they want to help and all this, just unfiltered dialogue. And that was just so listenable. Joanne, we'll be right back 32 minutes past the hour. Joanne Daly for all of your real estate needs. Very, very simple to get a hold of. 609-513-8969. 609-513-8969. We'll be back with Joanne right after this. I am Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
In a world full of fake news, AI, and unverified information on social media, where can you get the latest, most accurate South Jersey news? WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Don't wait for the newspaper to come in the mail. The WPG Talk Radio app is updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Accurate, dependable, reliable. When you need to know, it's WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Wake up weekday mornings with Hurley in the Morning.
This is the stuff we need to talk about.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back. It's Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Tell a friend. South Jersey's talk station. And the Truth in Broadcasting comes out weekday mornings to play. Joanne, one other item that's non-real estate related, but it does involve you, and the fact that you and Glenn have played in just about every one of what will be 17 as of June 20th. 17 Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Opens at the Linwood Country Club. Again, we're all set for Thursday, June 20th, 8 a.m. hour breakfast and registration, 9 a.m. shotgun start, lunch after golf, all the trimmings. I wanted to share with you that, I was so blessed more than 20 years ago to become incredibly good friends with Joe Pellegrino. Joe Pellegrino was part, and I just talked to Larry Kane last night. He was part of that initial team. Larry Kane, Joe Pellegrino, Jim O'Brien, who died in the tragic parachuting accident. That crew that became the number one team in the Delaware Valley at WPVI Channel 6 Action News. And I love the man. And he played, as you know, in our event every single year. And he passed away in the last several days at age 89. He played our event at age 88 with cancer, by the way. He was amazing and did all 18 holes, completely vibrant and amazing. And he passed. And I wanted to let you know, Joe, that I haven't told this to too many people yet, but there'll be a beautiful sign at the closest to the pin hole, our closest to the pin contest. And we're naming the closest to the pin contest the Joe Pellegrino closest to the pin contest at the Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Open for a lot of reasons. Number one, he won it several years ago. He was about 6 inches away from a hole-in-one. He won the closest to the pin, and because I want to honor him, and I just thought it was the perfect thing to do, and we've raised the prize. Thank you to Michael Merlino, who's sponsoring both the closest to the pin and the longest drive hole competition. We're increasing it from $100 to $250 for the winners. So I wanted to share that with you, and please tell Glenn.
Oh, I will. It's one of his things is always to get the closest to the pin.
Oh, yeah. It's coveted.
One of the fun things to do, yeah.
And he's usually right there. He is, I will call him Mr. Accuracy.
Oh, yeah. He's pretty funny how, like, and I've been playing with him obviously for years, and it never ceases to amaze me. Like, oh my gosh, through the trees, around the trees, over the trees, and there.
Oh no, he's an artist. He's a sculptor out there. He can shape the ball, and I mean, he's got, as you know, he's got game. There's a reason that you guys have been champions of the event, and you've been excruciatingly close to winning multiple times on a match of cards, to like the fourth tiebreaker type of stuff. I mean, you guys either win or you're right there every year, including last year, just one stroke away.
Right. I know, so that's like, oh, that was too close.
So, Joanne, what do you think of our idea to name the closest to the pin after Joe Pellegrino?
I think that's fabulous. And one of the things, when you were saying that, it made me think, my dad played golf many, like my whole life, up until he passed away. And one of the things that he always said about it, and here it was true to Joe's too, is that you can play your entire life the game of golf. Like, it's one sport that you can continue to play into your 80s and 90s. Glenn's mom played, I think she was 91, that was like the last time we took her out,
I totally agree. And I think, obviously, maybe you're using the cart, not walking 18 holes or something like that, but you're walking a lot, you're moving, and I think that by continuing to do that year after year, you can do that well into your 80s and even beyond, like you're saying. Honestly, I was shocked that Joe was 89. I mean, I kind of knew it because I knew how old he was back in the 70s. So, it just gets crazy how the years just fly by so quickly. So, I mean, I knew how old he was, but you didn't know it when you saw him out on the golf course.
Right, exactly, because, their swing is good. They know the game. They know the walk. I mean, and it keeps you kind of going, I think, because you can walk and play and use a cart. And most people use a cart and they're not 80, they're 50,
exactly.
They're 40.
Yeah.
Everybody uses a cart unless, and then it turns into like with a little bit of dampness, you're in cart path only. So you're walking from the back and forth to your ball. Then you start hitting towards the path and not down the center, But it's funny because that keeps you in shape and keeps you going. Both Glenn's parents played well into their 80s, 90s. His mom went to 90.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So,
Joanne, don't go away. We'll get the final break in, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more real estate with Joanne Daly, the official and exclusive real estate professional for the Hurley in the Morning. You do the same. Just proclaim it. Make Joe yours, and you can say she's your official expert in terms of everything real estate, buying, selling, renting a property, condominiums, residential, commercial. Joanne can do it all. 609-513-8969, 609-513-8969. Also, Joanne, thank you for addressing in the beginning of your program the most listenable explanation to the federal judge's decision involving this whole notion of what they're calling an antitrust settlement. I think it's ridiculous, but to call it that, but that's what they're calling it, and exactly what it means in terms of folks that are out there looking to buy and sell their homes. We'll be right back with Joanne after this. This is
Hurley in the Morning.
We need proper representation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
All right, Father's Day, graduation season right around the corner. And if you're looking for a really great, unique gift, you got to check out the personalized receiver covers from my friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, they're available for Henry's Golden Boy and Golden Boy Silver rifles, which come in 3 calibers, 22 LR, 22 Magnum, and 17 HMR. Just go to henryusa.com and type in personalized in your search box. Well, there you're going to find a link to the product page with step-by-step instructions. They can engrave any message that you want, up to 20 words, and the process is easy, it's simple, it's affordable, and it doesn't require a gunsmith. Check out Henry's personalized receiver covers if you're looking for a great gift for dads or grads. Make sure you get their free catalog. They mail it with free decals and a list of dealers where you live. That's henryusa.com. You get the free catalog, free decals. They have 200 rifles, shotguns, revolvers to choose from, and you're going to love this company. I know I do.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I'm from Mullica Township.
Cape May.
I'm from Margate.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
And you have Joanne from Atlantic City and Harry from EHT, formerly of Atlantic City and Ventnor. This portion of our program is also brought to us by Congress Hall, my absolute favorite hotel in Cape May County. It's a wonderful property. I mean, think about it. They've been having guests stay at their hotel for more than 200 years. It's almost ridiculous. 1816, they have welcomed generations of guests. And there's a charm the minute that you walk through the door. Curtis has done such a fabulous job, Curtis Bashaw, the marble-floored lobby, the American flags that line the history hallway. You have spacious ocean view guest rooms and suites. And what Margie calls a vacation is a one-night overnight stay at Congress Hall. You feel like you're stepping into your own cottage by the sea, which it used to be referred to not only in the early days but right up until the present. There's also the farm fresh favorites. You've got the Blue Pig Tavern. You have the boiler room that I'm telling you, oh my gosh, the shrimp and the meatballs, these wonderful dishes. And, of course, the fabulous brick oven pizza. Oh, it is fabulous. Congress Hall has it all. And while it's still spring, and especially midweek, there are some really great opportunities. The crowds aren't going to be a problem, and you'll get the best rate that you'll be able to get for a number of months. You can book at caperesorts.com/Congress Hall. It's caperesorts.com/Congress Hall. Congress Hall literally is America's first seaside resort. We continue with Joanne Daly and her discussion all about real estate. Joanne, what's news? I mean, I'll tell you one thing that's news. Beyond 7% mortgages, that's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's more of the same, you know. It's more of the same insanity. You know, I have so many people who would like to sell, and A, they can't find a property, and B, they're not really willing to pay more for the property and more in interest. I just had this conversation with a client that it would cost them $1,000 more a month in the mortgage.
Oh, my gosh.
Higher priced home and a higher rate. So they're staying put. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I know that. I always tease. I when I'm doing your show, I do it. I did it just yesterday. It would have done it 2 weeks ago, but COVID-19 delayed my date with Jim Malamud until yesterday. So the Ponderosa is up another 4.1%, and I'm not complaining, Joanne.
Right. You know, I mean, your values are going up, but there's nobody out there to buy them. You know,
so that's. You talk about supply and demand. That's a whole new element. You know, before, when the rates were attractive, there weren't enough properties to buy. So what do you think is going to give? Because the Fed chair that promised something like 4 or 5 rate cuts is now saying there might be no rate cuts. And, you know, until they lower their benchmark, the other rates are not going to come down. They all play in the same, you know, sandbox, as you know. So there may only be one rate decrease. Who knows if it's going to be a quarter of a point, a half a point, and then that might be it. So do you think that we're in a higher rate environment for, I'll say the foreseeable future, but maybe even for quite a while to come?
I do. And like I've said before, while it's higher because it was crazy low before, it's sort of what would be a typical rate had we never dipped that far down before.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because just my old days having been a banker with National Westminster Bank, low rates usually meant that values would be higher. Higher rates meant that values would be lower. Correct me if I'm wrong. We seem to be in a different kind of perfect storm where it's higher interest rates and valuations that are rising.
Right. We are in a different storm, right, because of the inventory or the lack of.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, now, if you throw into the whole storm, if you will, you add the hail of this, settlement with buyers having to pay commissions, not only is the rate high, the cost of the home is high, it's going to cost the buyer more money.
Wow, that's a shame.
I know, and it's, somewhat, and it was always negotiable before with when we go on a listing appointment, we're there negotiating with the seller, working on the pricing of the home so that it can appraise, it can be affordable, it can be competitive, and it can be sold either really quickly or, give it some time for a, higher price per se.
Yeah.
So all those go into, a lot of factors go into that. Well, now with this settlement kind of thing and changing the way business is conducted, regulated, if you will, more regulation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to sort of hurt this consumer in its buying power.
Let me ask you this, and I'll compare it to the following. When the bottom fell out in around 2008, and we were a market where we had the highest home foreclosure rate in America, we had the highest unemployment rate in America. So we got hit hard. We had 4 casinos close. We hemorrhaged tens of thousands of jobs. It was a very bad time, and that was the same time where mortgages were just raining out of the sky. Ninja loans, no income, no job, and you would just get a mortgage for hundreds of thousands of dollars with no visible means to be able to even make the first monthly installment payment. And so we know how that turned out, a lot of foreclosures, record number and all that. But then the industry figured it out, the mortgage industry, if you will. They figured it out, and still found a way to get deals done and so on and so forth. There's no choice if this actually on November 26th at the final approval hearing happens, and it appears that it's on path for this antitrust settlement for $418 million to go down. Meaning approved. I shouldn't use the term down. That might be confusing, but it looks like it will happen on November 26th. Then the industry has to figure out how to make it work.
Exactly. And they're putting in a lot of these new guidelines, if you will, starting July.
Yes.
Because they know business has to be
right, in preparation for what's going to happen several months after that.
Right. I mean, because that's just the settlement. The ruling on, changing the way business is practiced is now. So that's coming in July. So consumers in July are going to have a different scenario, than that's not about November. That's already coming into play as starting July. And I don't think the industry between banking and real estate has kind of figured out a way yet to make this workable or digestible for the buyers.
Wow.
And for the sellers. I don't think it's not very clear yet. I mean, they've put guidelines in place where we have to use buyers' agreements, which we always have, so that we try to secure that so that as your agent, you're technically employing me to represent you, Now they've made that 1-page document 5 pages,
Yeah.
And in this scenario or in that scenario, and this could happen and that can happen, and then in the end, could be that you're going to be paying for your own representation, which, kind of fair, but not practical for a lot of buyers, taking it off. And one of my biggest beefs about this whole thing is, who's getting that $418 million settlement? What consumer is sharing in that win?
I know. That's a really good point. Hey, I love this. Very good friend of mine who lives in another part of the country, famous fellow, wrote great questions and insights about the real estate market this morning. Well done. So you have listeners from way outside of the state of New Jersey checking in. It is an important conversation, Joanne, because people have to know, how is all this going to work? And realistically speaking, past I'm a big fan is Prologue. The government is terrible at structuring things.
Right.
What you could say in one sentence, they will take 5 pages, and it all becomes clear as mud. So you can just tell that really they're going to leave they're going to over-regulate the whole thing, and then leave all of you fine people to figure out how to make it work.
Right. And it's funny because somebody comes into my office and says, look, I'm looking for a shore house, blah, blah, blah. I have to hand them this buyer's agreement and go over it with them, and they're going to have to sign that so that I can start showing them homes. And, we've always kind of done that in the past anyway, but with the 5 pages, the buyer's going to look at that and say, oh, I need an attorney. I better go take this to my attorney.
See, now that is you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people, now some will tell you always should have an attorney. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not have an attorney when we bought the Ponderosa. We bought from really good people. They actually live very near us. They sold their home and built a brand new home. And we didn't need anything like that because we had professional real estate folks, with us. You take this and change the game. This will involve, I didn't think about that. This will involve many more people having a real estate attorney on the deal.
Right, and it's going to cost the consumer more money.
Oh, it definitely costs them more money at that point.
Right, because it was originally in South Jersey, yes, we have attorneys. If it's the contracts were written, and I'll say that, the agreement of sale contract type things, they're written in layman's terms so that average people can understand and read it.
In other words, an average person can conduct the transaction without needing a lawyer. If you decide you want a lawyer, there are people that insist upon that, and the way that they operate, they wouldn't think of making a real estate purchase without one. But as you know, a lot more people buy their home without a lawyer these days than actually use a lawyer, correct?
Right. In South Jersey,
yes.
North Jersey, Toms River North, it's always an attorney.
And I think that's because they get the New York sort of way of doing things.
Right.
Hold on, Joanne. Don't go away. Your mic is still on. I just want to take this moment to tell you that there is a special offer from my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning Professionals. We do it every year. We do it twice, once for the air conditioning system and once for the heating system. And it really gives them an opportunity on a semi-annual basis to see how your system is doing. And when you do the basic maintenance, it is amazing because you'll be changing the filter. Some people go an incredible amount of time without changing the filter. Well, that takes years off of your system's life because it's choking. It literally, it's like your lungs, if they were covered in soot or something, you're suffocating trying to breathe. Well, the system needs a clean filter, for example. And then they do it all. They tune it up. And the amazing thing is they've kept the same price as last year, which in this inflation we're all dealing with because everything is more expensive. New customers, it's still a $59 special price. Their certified technicians will perform a thorough precision tune-up on your system. They'll make sure it's safe, make sure it's running at maximum efficiency, and prepared to get you through the summer season. Doesn't matter. Oh, they didn't put it in. They didn't do the system. Doesn't matter. They can work on all the systems regardless of who originally installed it. When comfort matters, choose who I choose. Ambient Comfort. Schedule your appointment today at AmbientComfortNJ.com, AmbientComfortNJ.com, or call 609-568-0955, 609-568-0955. Ask for your $50 air conditioning tune-up for new customers. Tell them Harry Hurley sent you. Joanne, we have about 4 or 5 minutes, I think 5, left in your program. What else would you like to share?
Oh, my word.
I know. There's a lot. There's a lot.
I know. It drives me crazy a little bit because this market is so complex. There's so many facets that drive the market. There's a lot of buyers out there. There's a lot of need out there. There's a lot of need for rentals out there. If anybody is curious or thinking about it, I would like to speak to them so I could walk them through, the logistics of what it is to put your home up or your condo up for sale. And one of my biggest ones I had a guy call me and I said, "That's great. You want to sell your house. I'm happy to help you. Absolutely." I says, "But I need to know if you know where you're going, because you can get into a situation really quickly where you could be homeless. If you don't have a game plan, an exit strategy of where you're going, we're going to hit a roadblock, or I call them speed bumps, in the transaction process when somebody wants to move in and you haven't found suitable housing somewhere."
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, you want to sell, but you better know where you're going to be next, especially in this market. Joanne, take a couple of minutes. I think it would be time well spent because we're getting very close to this rental market summer season. It's going to be May next week. What are your crystal ball forecasts for rental in, we'll say, the greater Atlantic City area?
Well, I think it's going to be a nice summer. I'm hopeful that we don't have the wind and rain we had last summer, because I know people were complaining every weekend was, they look forward to the weekend to get out on the boat and whatnot, and it rained, it wind, they couldn't get out. So I'm really hopeful that we have better weather than last year. But I think the rental type market, and it's been slowly declining, like the summer rentals. I see a lot of homes with signs on them for summer rental. They're not there like they used to be because of Airbnb and VRBOs. The short-term rentals have really kicked that market to the curb, sort of, where you would take it all summer. And it changes the dynamics of the area because it's very transient, where before you would have many homes go from Memorial Day to Labor Day with the same people in the neighborhood, in the restaurants, on the boardwalk, on the beach. You would have groups like that. Now you don't have that. Now it's more transient than ever, with people coming in for weekends and weeks and in and out. And there's still a good rental market for that because we're a nice, resort area we have such great beaches here. I'll tell you, from Atlantic City to Longport, you cannot beat the beaches.
And Atlantic City, as you know, is still one of the only free beaches that you will find anywhere.
I know, and it's beautiful. I mean, They clean that beach. That's the gem of Atlantic City.
Yeah, they do.
And that's what people want to be. So,
30 seconds, Joanne. Just a time check. 30 seconds. Go.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
I know.
It's, I think we're going to have a really good summer. I really do.
I do too.
Hopefully we can get enough people into their summer homes or summer condos. We have a few available. And
let me share, the way to do that is call my very, not good friend, my very great friend for many, many years. She's very young, but very, very many years. Somehow the math works. 609. You can be young and still have a lot of experience. 609-513-8969. 609-513-8969. Joanne, as always, the time spent with you is always a joy. It's a delight. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a champion golfer in the Hurley in the Morning Golf Open. And we'll reconvene next month.
And thanks for letting me,